And hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the next part of our 6th birthday celebrations, because, you know, we had a great one last week with the man like Guy Barone, who delivered honestly one of the best masterclasses I think I've ever seen. I think I basically just led as much as anybody else on that. It was absolutely fantastic, and what a way to introduce his remix, which is coming out on the label on Monday, which is going to be very, very cool. And tonight we've got the next guest to honour us as part of our 6th birthday celebration. Somebody who I got to know a very long time ago, back when we were both fresh-faced young men. And
that is a long time ago.
He's so, as he says, yeah, exactly. It was a long time ago. And then big gap, and then we ended up reconnecting. And here he is. We're gonna move over. Here he is. Cass, how you doing, brother? You good?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this evening.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. And like I just mentioned before, as we were doing the intros, we've both had a long and winding road, haven't we, in this music scene that we love and adore so much. And it's been a special time, especially recently, because obviously we got to know each other a long time ago, probably like back end of the 90s into early 2000s, and then our beloved mutual friend, Mr. Norman himself.
There's such a Norm.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot.
That's all you need. That's all you need. Or as Norm is now known, Hernan Catano's personal security detail.
Final Croatia boss.
Croatia final boss. Balance final boss.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm changing his name in my phone to Balance Final Boss, and then putting that fella's head wig on Norman's head.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you, don't worry, so you can have it as well. So yeah, we reconnected in Croatia, didn't we? And it was an incredibly special time for the few days that we were together over there at Balance.
I think it was interesting, just for me, starting to get back into releasing music and hearing it in the wild. I mean, that's really the testing ground. I think hearing, not only what music sounds like, but for me, from a DJ and a production perspective, thinking about or hearing how people are putting it together, how the blocks work, how kind of individual tracks work together as part of that tapestry that
yeah.
if you're into progressive house, you're into or appreciate, whether it's how you DJ or even if you do DJ. Eventually, if you're making music and the desire is to execute and release it, that is your forum. That is the crucible by which all of this will eventually be tested.
Mm-hmm.
Make it or it won't in that regard. So to hear, stuff that I've made and the rest of it, it was viscerally as enjoyable, but also you're like, was right. Could have done with a bit more X or not enough Y, or wow, the track that came after it definitely just sounded like it was just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
So I remember all the the ups and downs of that, but just the enjoyment of that. If you really love this and you're really passionate about the process of it, that's such a vital part of it, because that commitment to execution, that commitment to releasing your music and allowing others to like or dislike it, whether you validate their decision either way, is essential. It's the final act. You cannot create without sharing. I mean, you can, but it's moot.
Yeah.
So to hear that then, in that environment, is, as I say, both for good and bad. It's an essential part of the process. So, hopefully, whatever we're doing today and whatever you're doing with this group of individuals ongoing, it will lead to that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the best. It's still as enjoyable now as it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Kind of to say that in terms of the
Yeah, I think one of the big attitudes and the big perspectives I got from people in Croatia was like, oh, I'm just glad I can still do this after all this time, after so many years and so many decades in the game,
Pretty sure, for many they're like, Tuesday's a lot rougher than
Mate, I'll tell you that Monday, after the Sunday, I'm definitely staying. I'm doing your trick, mate. I'm going to stay for a couple of more days next year, I think, because that was a long and rough ride home on the Monday. I mean, I literally, Patrice finished at 6 to close the whole festival, and I was picked up to go to the airport at 9:30.
No, that is incorrect.
Yes, it was incorrect, and thankfully there was a certain Mr. D. Howells in the airport. He was there for a bit to keep me sane on the way back.
I mean, if you're relying on the howler keep you sane after a 3-day bender in Croatia, then I'm afraid everybody's in real trouble.
Yeah, and actually, I think it's a damning indictment of my condition, considering the fact he was entirely the sanest person in the entire vicinity.
I think that's why I took the kids, so I was able to, play old man and be asleep by 1 latest, and then have my children tell me the next day when they went back to the the flat or their Airbnb for a shower at 3:30, and then went back to the festival at 4 each. I was like, I am not doing that. None of that's happening. But please feel free and now show me the videos of what it was like when I was fast asleep.
Oh, amazing, mate, amazing! It was such a lovely cherry on top of the cake, because obviously we spent quite a bit of time together on the Saturday night, especially when Hernan was playing.
Yeah.
Which, it was nice because it was good. It was a lovely moment for me because, like, half of Argentina were there, and then I was with half of Argentina on the one side, and on the other side I was with you, your good lady wife, and your kids, and Norman. And then obviously
that's powerhouse crew. That
it was a squad. It was a squad, and then like the fact that then Hernan just started dropping cast bombs after cast bombs.
To be fair, he literally WhatsApped me. I showed you an hour before it went on. He goes, "You have to stay till the end." and I told you when that was one of the. I mean, not just for me. I don't think like in terms of the feedback and the kind of post-event communication, him dropping like the breakbeat version of Perception as his last track.
Oh yeah.
And then I was reminded that 3 weeks before Balance, he'd asked me for the AIF of it, and I hadn't thought twice about it. And then when he WhatsApped me an hour before he went on to say, you have to stay until the end and make sure that everybody's here.
Yeah.
And then he followed it up with the second half will be the Kaz show, and he played like 5 things, including that. And I was like,
yeah. He's so good at that. He's so good at that. He's so amazing. I mean, he's. I mean, it's not to the extent where he did five in an hour, but because that's got to be some sort of record. But
that's what happens. That's what happens when you have arguably the world's largest progressive house DJ spend 9 months in your house as a tenant.
So when he lived in London, he was your tenant.
Yeah. and I played the long game. So I think he was. This is how long ago it was. You think how many residents he's done now without missing a week?
750 was last Sunday.
Right. So he just kind of started that.
No.
Yes. Like he was really full of fire of committing, and I had 2 decks, and I had the slightly budgety grey CDJs because I was proper.
The 800s was it?
So I went. I think I actually uttered the immortal phrase, "They'll never catch on."
I think a lot of people did around that time, mate. You weren't alone.
And he did that, and then he did the recording on my Shure SM58, which was hardwired into the Allen and Heath. So there was 2 1210s, 2 CDJ 800s, which felt like they were made of cardboard. And then what at the time was a really great Allen and Heath that I'd found like second hand. And then I'd had it all plumbed in with MDF. And he would take his records out of his box, and underneath I had like, panel spaces. And then he would just, we made one of the spaces his. So if he was out playing and he wanted to keep something aside, because my decks were in my bedroom at the top of the house, I'd had the loft done. And so it was in the bed, and the bed was the other end of this bedroom in the loft. And he would just come in. And sometimes if I'd been DJing, I'd be asleep or I'd be lying there, and I was just starting to go out with my wife and the rest of it. And he would just come in, and he'd be like, and we'd be like, yeah, it's fine. Where you go? So we would watch him do it live, and we would just be lying and eating Doritos in bed or whatever. the hell seemed like a good idea.
Incredible.
So that really, I think, resonates. And then obviously I think my two favorite and the two best received gigs I've ever done have been with him. 3 on off. One was in Yellow in Tokyo. We played like 14 hours.
Wow.
And the other one was in Pasha, where he was like, actually sent me a photo of that the other day.
Oh, Pasha in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, of 3 photos of me and him. I've got a look so young. And it's the 3 of us, and it was at like 9:30. And he said that even like when Oki came in, he goes, no one has left. Like no one. We were still doing the play 64 bar, break things, and make everybody sit down shit at 10 a.m. and we started at 9 p.m.
Incredible.
So they were still playing that game willingly. after 11 hours,
mate. The RGs are hardcore, mate. You found out firsthand. Tell you.
Him and I looking at each other, going, "I'm not sure I have got anything left in the box that hasn't been played at least twice."
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean the RGs are hardcore, man. They really are. Like I was even just seeing it over the weekend that there was a big storm there over the weekend, and Roy Rosenfeld and Seb Ledger played through it. And absolutely not a single person left.
Amazing. Like,
just absolutely got down. And even the Sunset Strip gig in March, which was to coincide with Hernan's 60th birthday, right. The one that got rained off, which I have never been in weather like it. I mean, Noah's Ark could have floated down the middle of the dance floor.
Were you just there, or you'd gone for that?
No, I'd gone for the gig.
Oh. That's unfortunate.
Because like I literally I was still living there at the time, and it was like I was literally only about 20 minutes away. And honestly, like it had been raining really badly all week, and if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I was like, this is going to be touch and go. This, and then it was wet when we got in, and then it just got progressively worse and worse and worse, and then they had to call it. I think Hernan started at like 6:36 or something like that. And they pulled it at 8:30. It was that bad.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. I mean, I still see it now. And there was a period of time where he and I weren't conversing regularly. But even when I wasn't involved in music at all, really, he and I would speak every few months and everything else, and blah blah. He has been that. That's why when I look at it, I think here's someone genuinely deserving of what they get, because he's always been that committed.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. The show must go on no matter what.
When he started the resident thing, like I said, quite literally, I think he'd done a few before he moved to London and continued it for 9 months in my bedroom. He was just like, there were plenty of times when we were either out or doing something. We because I used to live like just above Notting Hill, so we would cycle down into Notting Hill and have like Mexican food and stuff like this. Was really, it was just really great. But he was so like it was not on the cards that anything could happen, even when it didn't have the legacy of 750 episodes, that he wouldn't commit to putting that out.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
With no vision at that stage of having 700,000 followers and being able to sell out 20,000 or 40,000 tickets in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He was still a big DJ, but like the differential would be impossible to reconcile. And yet his dedication to the music and the passion and the way he used to share it, and it's just he's remained exactly the same, and everybody else has just caught up. Yeah,
and maybe not even caught up in some regards. And I think there's a really important lesson in there, isn't there, about
he hasn't changed a bit.
Put it out. Just keep grinding it out, because it's actually quite interesting, because I read a post today about a guy called Chris Williamson. He does a podcast called Modern Wisdom.
Yeah, he used to be an ex-Newcastle bouncer.
That's right, yeah. And he was on the very first season of Love Island.
That's right. And now he just crossed 5 million subscribers, I think.
Like insane. Like absolutely insane. And what it was there, I think his business partner, James Smith, who's another kind of YouTuber type guy, was saying like...
Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
He sells this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go. There's the free plug.
120 milligrams of caffeine. I have this in the studio fridge. 100% cannot be drunk after 2 p.m. And I make one can last 3 days.
I was going to say, you're not cracking that open now, are you? We're going to have a long night otherwise.
Ooh.
I might have to dig some stuff out the archives for your opinion if you're going to crack that open now, mate. We're going to be here all night.
No, but yes, I'm to a certain extent, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I appreciate him in that regard that you've spoken of, which is here's a guy who just keeps showing up. Not because he's not good at it, but because his commitment. And I like people, my mate, and we've had this football discussion before, he really can't get over how toxic it was for AFTV with Robbie when Arsene was leaving, where it became almost inevitable because it was so toxic. But the way that they've, like, if you look at AFTV's production now, it's not only is it so good just in its own regard, like it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's clearly heads and shoulders above any other fan-related product that I've seen in any sport, including American sports. But it's so good that it's affected the way that Sky, who have unlimited money, deliver content. Like all their new content overlap, this, that, fan debate is what they do or have done.
I would on the Liverpool side, I would add the Anfield wrap into that. But obviously, we're not here to talk about football so much. But you're right in terms of, like, you know, these things tend to coalesce around. So, like, the essential lesson for artists is to just, like, keep pumping it out. Just keep pumping it out. And, like, if you're committed enough and over a long enough time frame, good things are going to happen.
I think it's difficult. Like, I was discussing this, like I was talking to my son earlier when he said, "Oh, what's the thing that you're doing later?" And I was explaining everything else, and I was like, he goes, "What's your key phrase?" I said, "It was difficult because sometimes there are reasons why it feels like cliches survive, right? It's because they've become lazy ways of wrapping around a core concept.
Yeah.
But the key thing with something like this is, if you really love what you do and you love the process of learning more about something that you love doing, there is no downside.
Yeah.
All you need to do is ensure that you feel comfortable with the process, and also the fact that others may not appreciate your art in the way that you do. And that is the unfortunate eventual glass ceiling for anyone who's ever made anything ever. Yeah. Right? Including my daughter, who I still get reminded of this. She once brought me a picture of a unicorn. I went, "This doesn't even look like a unicorn." My wife was stood there like this. This was after, like, this is our fourth child. Like, so you should know. And she was just
by now. You've
whatever it is we're doing at parents, you are dragging down the average in this moment. It doesn't even look like a unicorn. Like, apparently I have to have it tattooed.
Okay, so hopefully I'm not going to give you any sort of similar looks that your wife did tonight, where it's like, that doesn't even sound like a prog record.
I was going to say, someone will play something and I'll just be looking deep into camera and going, it doesn't even look like a unicorn.
Well, you know, if it looks like a unicorn, it sounds like a unicorn, and guess what? Oh, amazing, amazing. Right, we're going to get into it. We're going to listen to some hopefully fantastic music, I think it is.
Right.
This first one is an interesting one. So it's a guy called Liam Garcia. He's been, like, you know, I've been aware of him for a long time, and he's just recently joined the community. And this is actually a demo of a remix that he's doing of Hobin Rude. Okay. So I don't know whether are you familiar with Hobin's work?
Yeah. Is this obviously because of my brother?
Yeah, incredible.
Is this something that's like official? This is already working?
Yeah. This is for an official pack, and the irony is that on the pack I'm doing the other remix.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, he's doing well. He's punching in the correct weight class, shall we say, straight away. So yeah, let's have a little listen to it and see where we're at, and we shall reconvene afterwards. Here we go. Yeah, okay, there we go. Cool. Well then, going to give us an opinion on that, my good friend? What do you think?
I think the key thing for me, just to provide some context, you and I discussed this briefly beforehand,
sure,
is whenever I've been in the studio, I've always had to work with somebody else. So I don't have the skill set that you have, or that anyone else here, or haven't taken that leap, because I've always felt from a DJ perspective, I've brought ideas and brought concepts and know enough about structure and sequencing and everything else to get my hands on the tools post to create something. But the key thing with, I think from my perspective about what I do and what the people who I've really enjoyed and loved working with do, is to have a sense of intention. And that sense of intention is different for everybody, right? And not every, so if you break, like, even when we've created it, or when we've done remixes in the past, I've thought about it in terms of, you're either shooting for the stars and this is the thing that people are shazamming when you're out. This is the kind of track that Hanan and Nick would play at Loveland and fits perfectly in other high quality tracks of that nature. This is a track that I'm really looking forward to playing out and feel is a good representation of my skill set, considering where I'm at. It's, you set those targets, not for anybody else, but to ring fence that most dangerous of things, which is the procrastination, which you use as the illusion of the search for perfection, which is nonsense. And the way I've always got round it is to accept that getting any piece of music or any piece of art across a line where it meets the lane where your intention exists, even if the two don't dovetail perfectly, is the beginning of your commitment to what comes next. Right? This is a great track. I would probably buy it. It feels very representative of everything I heard at Balance.
Yeah.
But if you want to spend the time, to maybe take that vocal that's in there, chop it up a little bit, and then use that element where you take a vocal and it becomes an instrumental part to help elevate certain aspects of it. It's not that the record isn't already a good one. What is your desire to now play from that position of security that you could hand that in, unless your remix is exactly the same, or they had a set idea and this fails to hit that target, it'll get signed off and you'll receive your payment, if you're looking at it from a job perspective. But the enjoyment and the joy in creativity is you take the time that you have to spend the time that you want. Right? And the more effective you get, the better you get at achieving a good standard. The more you are driven to spend more time seeking out that 5 or 10% that will define you as someone who every now and then delivers something that will slowly push you above this miraculous line. And not every remix that, even the people we love do. Like, I would define anyone to pull out, apart from obviously his exceptional remix of Gothamania, available now on like, how many things has Hanan done this year? But okay, so 2009, there are some standouts, but he must have done 20 things.
Yeah.
And they're all really good. How many can you name?
Well, I can name one for a start, but it includes me.
That's what I mean. But none of them were bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But none of them were Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
None of them were Expander.
Yeah.
But none of them were bad. And it's only a matter of time before he writes one. Or he does something where everyone's like, that is really, and it's not that you don't release or execute or see value in something that's good, but it's a baseline for potentially you searching for what your greatness could deliver.
Yeah.
And here, so much of it is in the right space, in the right. It's like that game, you know, where is it the right thing in the right place?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the right thing in the wrong place? Here, most of the pegs, I can't remember whether it's black or white, but most of the pegs are black.
Yeah.
They're the right thing in the right place.
Uh-huh.
You know, her definitely at balance and understanding, speaking to Hernan, like most things, even when now with, you know, CDJ 3000s, you only need 16 bars to create your own 4-bar loop that doesn't feature disco wind or an annoying noise to give the illusion of a 64 mix in or 64 mix out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But even having said that, most of this will be like Liam's. The opening parts are longer so that you can create that loop and then still have the luxury of knowing that you've set it as a 16 before the 64 drop.
Yeah.
So that you can get that uplift, which is as a result of whether you mix in key or just, you know, the energy of creating those moments that exist between tracks that kind of really to many define the uplift and how you're able to manipulate using records such as this in more than just playing them.
Yeah.
So that simplicity, I think, it is absolutely standard, and I do not mean that in a bad way. So that feels right.
Yeah.
And the same in the middle. If I pick just somebody I have worked with or whose music I find to be exceptionally effective out and is like a Hernan favorite, like this is 5 or 10% shy of like a Bounder remix.
Yeah.
Where he'll find something extra. Like it's this, all of the form, the function, the layout. Hang on. From what I could hear, like with it streaming and everything else. Yes, I've got good bandwidth and a nice, you know, system in the studio. It sounded great. Like there's space for most things. But just, you know, it's the beginning of a question. Now from that position of it being almost delivery ready, what fun can you have knowing that it's not like you're searching for something in order to drag it across the line?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you find that, and sometimes you do not. You know, but I think about a lot of the things that have defined specific records that I've done. It's been in those moments from a position of, in the main, we know what this is, right? Now what? Now what will come next? Yeah. And here, just as I say, utilizing there are a couple of moments in there, you know, and it's not rocket science. Bass comes out, bass goes in. Drums come out, drums come in. Again, using like Pablo's work, Bounder's work, what he does that's so effective is he understands the ability, especially from a mix perspective, of giving room to return to what you had. Yeah. I had a particularly bad habit, and when I say I had a particularly bad habit, of about 20 years of just fucking throwing the kitchen sink at everything. Fuck it. You thought this 12-minute record was the first break and the first. Now here's a 6-minute rise at the end that Sasha likes. It's two records. It's like, yeah, you will have more, and then everyone I work with is like, you do understand that even on an SSL, not everything can be turned exclusively all the way to the right. So having that ability through an elegance of sequencing allows you, like, you know, like if you're eating a great meal, you don't rush through it because the intention is to savor the excellence in each mouthful. Yeah. And great, like, you know, you and I discussed, like, whether it was with Jody or, you know, the Glastonbury thing he did, you know, you listen to it and there's a certain sense of bicep sensibility where you listen to Apricots. I mean, it's 3 things and one of them's just hammering away from the big, you wouldn't change a thing. Right? So it's not always more. Yeah. It's the simplicity of what we have now. Think about the elegance of Glue and Veil. Glue, which has been in the top 3 of the electronica charts in Beatsport for 8 years. Who is buying this record? Who does not own this record? Yeah. Like, it's mental. Yeah. But sometimes this has, like, it's simple without being lazy. It's well produced without being over-engineered. It's an enjoyable listen. I definitely would already enjoy listening to it again. I can hear it in my mind, it's like if you really enjoy cinema, it's difficult to enjoy. Sometimes it's nice to move beyond that and just enjoy something for what it is. But here, to regard a production or a DJ sensibility, I can hear it with other records.
Yeah, and that's vital
for me. And that's not a general sensibility or guarantee. It's vital for me. I enjoy that because I try to think of music from a DJ perspective in those blocks. This fits in that regard.
Yeah,
I would just say, again, you're just searching for that one thing, and it might be as simple. I think there was one of the breaks where I think here you can see I would have retained Liam, but didn't get tired of. I enjoyed it, which was there are still some floaty breaks, but that stuff's really gone away. Hanan was at it from the races to begin with, partly because where Guy Mansour left him, not in a bad way, but like it's time. But even in the bits where there are breaks like this, and the drum roll begins the minute the drop starts.
Yeah.
So even if it's low in the filter, the energy and the build begins before you've had a chance to drop off.
Yeah.
But when Pablo does it, you get your cake and eat it. So either the filter's slightly more subtle or more depressed, more has come out, even if you're just going to return to what was, or you might have, I think in the second or third one, there's one more element that gets added, which I always like as an uplift.
Yeah.
But even then, potentially, again, like the comedians I love, there's nothing better than a joke that was set up at the beginning of an hour set and doesn't get paid off
until the last minute. Yeah.
That's why Dave Chappelle, in my regard, is my favorite comedian of all time, because he not only will he do that, he'll make you forget that there was even a setup. And then when the punchline arrives, you appreciate not just the gag on its own, but the artistry of having been led down a path.
Yeah.
Same with music.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, there are a lot of connections in that regard. And just, this is a great joke. Maybe the setup could do with just either a little less, or the investigation of how you might use the vocal or something of that nature. But if this is the first one out the gate, it's a good standard. Yeah,
it's a very good standard indeed. And I actually really like the fact that, a lot of these, a lot of like sort of modern prog records, and I'm as guilty as this as anyone. You've heard a lot of my stuff as well. I'm a sucker for a big, long breakdown and a build up and everything else. What I really appreciated about this is that there is actually no discernible proper breakdown, if you will, and it plays into something Patrice always says when he comes and does stuff like this. He always says, if you're going to make people stop dancing, you better give them a bloody good reason to. And I love that.
And that's the thing. And that's the absolute sensibility of one of the major takeaways from Balance was energy is king. Energy is king. And even at this kind of, taking into regard some of the DJs we like, third of the way through a 6 or 8 hour set vibe on this record, it still has that energy. Yeah. And as a result, I think it also allows more flexibility as to where it could fit. Pitched up, it might appear later. Pitched down, it could appear earlier. And would potentially change in terms of the dynamic of how it would fit in a block.
Yeah.
It's a big record in the first hour. It's a setup record in hour 6.
Yeah, exactly.
And neither of those things is a good or a bad thing.
Yeah,
it just shows I think when a record has a sense of flexibility or a sense of alternate position, but doesn't suffer, it feels like it could go anywhere. If it has a sense of purpose beyond one specific moment, unless you've decided I'm going to write a barnstormer and I'm going to kitchen sink this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Then that's a good thing, because you're making it more amenable for people to find a place for it, play it, execute on it, and all of those things are very positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just had a comment from one of the other people watching on YouTube saying, we're one track in and I already want Cass back for more feedback. Amazing insights.
That's... do you know how difficult it has been for me to type and not let you know I'm typing?
Oh yeah, he's got one of those silent keyboards. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a good job I actually know you're lying, because it's actually somebody we're going to play the track next. It's theirs. So, and unless you've snuck in one of the tracks, I don't know. But no,
that would be good.
That would be epic level pestiness, if I'm being honest. That would have been excellently done. So
this track is brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Next. Yeah, exactly. No, as I say, like going back to Liam's track, I really loved it, and yeah, it's one I've heard before and I've helped with him. And you're absolutely right. The thing that I'm helping Liam with is like he's great at like you said, getting to the dance. Do you know what I mean? Right, we're back. Eventually, with my whole system and my internet connection completely crapped out for some reason. I think it might have been crushed under the weight of the insight that Cass was actually like providing.
Yes, I'm not. There's one of the things I'm not sure about in my life. That has now entered the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, so we managed to rescue that. That was a computer. Believe it or not, like we've managed to rescue it on the original stream, and we've done a complete computer change and everything else. So we're in the right ballpark now, guys. We're in the right ballpark now. Right. Okay. So we were going to move on, and we're just going to finish up with Liam. Liam's track's fantastic, and like I was saying before, we were so rudely interrupted. I think the thing with Liam is like once now he's getting to the standard, which he has been for a while. It's now about what makes him unique, and it's about, you know, bringing that uniqueness out. So as soon as you put the needle on the record, metaphorically speaking, you know it's him, and you're going to be in for an interesting ride. And having that, you know, unique sound of like, you know, a sonic identity, essentially, is what's going to come next of him, really.
Yeah, and I think, it's my commentary is not in the absence of understanding about what 2025, 2026 reality is at 260,000 Spotify records dropped a week. So the question is, what do you want? Do you want to continually improve whilst delivering in order to give yourself the best possible chance to cut through on your own terms? When I stopped writing music, just to give you the watchword of an old person, the reason I stopped was because I had like a family to cover, a house in Notting Hill I could definitely not afford. Right. And then on top of that, despite never having been accused of having a lack of self-confidence, I started to go full bipolar, creatively speaking, and asking, who's this for? And will admit that I failed to find the answer. Right. So you're attempting to serve too many masters, right? Having a singularity of purpose whilst retaining a sense of flexibility creatively is the cornerstone of so many great artists, well outside the progressive house medium.
Sure.
Right? Here's my goal. This is what I believe in. This was my intention. And here's something great that happened by mistake. And now I have the flexibility to follow down this path.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same mentality as if you're DJ. Like like I've always approached it like being a comedian, which is hilarious because many would consider my DJing to be a joke. Is that if because I love playing breakbeat, there's not a single set I would do, even if everyone else was just playing 4/4, I would attempt to interweave something in it because I love it so much.
Sure.
Right. And then, like a comedian, if this joke plays, if this joke about having to get up late if you've got kids, blah blah blah, plays, I'll go down this route. We'll tell more jokes like this. Same in the production element. Like if you start to chop up that vocal and hear how it feels like it's a step forward in terms of what the groove's doing, then you can pursue that path. If it doesn't, you're already a good producer.
Yeah.
So you can do so without fear. There's no creative process from a position of real fear, because that manifests the beginning of a process that leads to critical incision, where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Right? What you want to do is take something like this, appreciate that you've already done great work, and then positively use that as a benchmark to ask, what could I do if I spent another hour on it? But it's okay to pull the ripcord and go, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
because
fine.
It's part of a larger process, right?
That's the way you approach the production and the production line, like when you're DJing. Nobody DJs where every mix they did. I mean, nowadays, technically, it's not that an issue in the way that it used to be.
Yeah.
But in terms of, was this the best it could be? There'll be one where you were like, if I just that or didn't that, but you didn't play badly as a result. Right. Same here. That I think is a hugely important, the execution of imperfection is in itself, if you enjoy the journey, a joy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing to focus on, isn't it? The journey, really. And
yeah, but also here you've got two journeys. One, you have the opportunity to create, execute, and share something that you love. Many people who live a rich, full, meaningful life will never experience that. Right? That's an extraordinary state of affairs. And they'll have had great lives, but they'll never have known what it's like to take nothing and make something. It's an extraordinary doing. It's the most magic thing. There was nothing, and I made something.
A thing.
Right? Whether you're Daniel Day-Lewis cobbling, or you are a musician or an artist, it's the very essence of magic to give someone who has a great skill set just a piece of charcoal and then have them make a representation of something they can see in real life. Still, to me, feels like actual magic. because it's denied you as a result of your lack of skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings me to the second part. You are removing ignorance and friction to your joy. Every record you make, every improvement in process, every understanding of how you can gate this, do that, blah, 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 and get quicker to the point where you achieve the good and now can enjoy the search for the great. How magic is that?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just making the fun easier, better, and more meaningful faster. And I mean, that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's like, I think if you enter it into with that mindset, and once you get to a sort of certain level and a certain standard, that's what it'll feel like.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right?
And honestly, like it really, what you've just said really like brings me back to what an honor and a privilege it is to get to guide people in this process of helping them discover themselves.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, you know, the hours aside and the unappreciative side, some of the things, like I hear from a lot of my friends who are teachers and everything else, they need, and we're not talking about everyone's got to be captain my captain standing on the table.
Not everyone's Robin Williams.
Right. But they need, it's like golf.
Yeah.
Like, I am demonstrably shitter at a sport I've spent 40 years and easily 50 grand investment. That's extraordinary. Like, no one would accept that. No one. It's like starting as Michael Schumacher and then becoming as the blind lady from like Driving Test or whatever her name was.
Driving Miss
Daisy. I'm pretty sure she had a top 10 hit. Right? That's the journey. Like, I'm demonstrably worse. I need one great shot. Like, you know, to within 3 feet from 150 yards. That's it. Now I'm coming back. Yeah, there've been, you know, like 90 others that were dog shit. But this one, I'm motherfucking turning pro.
Yeah.
This one shot showed what you need. One moment like that, one record played out, one validation, and you will forget all of the 50 tracks that exist somewhere on a hard drive from Ableton where you were like, this is dog shit, I'm never going to get it.
It's the same with me with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Honestly, like the first 100 times I got strangled, nearly unconscious, completely disappeared into the ether the first time I managed to actually get a submission on someone. And then you're off. Then you're off to the races, and then it becomes addictive. And you know, it's exactly, and it's the same with, like, you know, what happened in Croatia with you with Hanan, and you know, Hanan playing my stuff like last year in Argentina and stuff like that. That feeling of, it's not so. There's a validation to it, but there's also the fact that that thing you made from nothing to something was then handed to a person who has a platform in order to broadcast that out to the maximum number of people possible, and to have everybody share in the moment of creation that you had from nothing to something to blowing people's minds, you know?
Yeah, and I think also it's, you know, a lot of the things or the desire, of the expectation of what will happen are, and again, I speak from a personal, you know, sensibility. They're part of that process of that, whatever the ego and the id is, in terms of whichever the one that's not doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Right. It is on, you know, that you're battling that. You're battling that 50% of the Britain has a gym membership, 5% of Britain go to the gym. It's that self-sabotage is very real, where the self-serving nature of, I was never going to do it anyway, or it's too difficult, or I don't understand, or I still can't quantize, or this is just noise. That's why I think having a skill set that allows you to, and again, I speak from the position of never having made the effort or taken the step, the irony to have that autonomy, something I've never had, but also because I've always approached it from a different perspective. I enjoy the collaborative process in that regard. Yeah. And also you can hear I'm able to translate potentially ideas and thoughts and, you know, kind of concepts in a way that often resonate with my production partners in a way that discussions with other people don't. Yeah. Potentially we get to a position that feels unique and interesting and collaborative.
And it certainly feels like, just on a personal note, between the two of us, we got to that place recently. or we're certainly in a process of getting to that place.
Yeah, and again, I think it's, you want, like, we always talk about, like, especially with clients in my day job. So I run a creative agency, but we also do a lot of corporate work where you're talking about, like, creating a frictionless environment to allow what you really desire to be as easy to achieve as possible without it being Ozempic. The question is, if you haven't built any structure, any learning, any skill set in order to achieve X, so I would suggest, considering the real-time translation that exists in AirPods now, which I've been saying is coming for years while my kid's still doing GCSE French, right? We're a year away from Apple. I make for an angel, but make it relevant for 2025. Listen to all of the Loveland mixes in the first hour, go. But you won't have acquired any of the skill set in order to manifest that.
Yeah, exactly.
And 260 will become 860, where everybody has a prompt workflow. And that's not, I'm not being a Luddite. It's not that there will be an issue with that. Somebody will write a great record prompting, like somebody won an Oscar, for the documentary film that they shot on iPhone. That doesn't make it mean that it's not, Apocalypse Now. It's different. But you're doing it as much for your own benefit, your own edification, as you are what's in it. What can I have?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And again, oh, thank you, baby. It's not a bad thing, but just, I remember, as I say, I told the story recently, about perception and everything else, about how we lost the whole thing.
Wow.
Literally lost we had the whole record. I thought it was special. We went into Santos in Notting Hill, had prawn burritos, came back, and there was a 4-bar loop that contained none of the riffs. No word of a lie. And Pete was like, "Fuck, man, no way, that's me out." And I was like, "Listen, I think most of this is here in parts, or the rest of it on the sequence. We'll put it all together." And I utilized that as an example, because we negotiated earlier that he felt was ridiculous that the second break or the rise was twice. So I used that as an opportunity to map it out in the way I wanted, exclusively as a DJ.
Yeah.
But in that, I was enjoying the worst moment we'd ever had. Because it was fun being in the studio and being with a mate, and then you're going to eat prawn burritos and come back, and this is a disaster, but wasn't it great when it did X? And he changed the bass line, and and
the magic arrives as a result of that moment.
And that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't have a love for it in a similar regard, I don't think you'll overcome those moments where you feel lost, or you feel like, and I went through a period of not being able to manage that, and didn't make music.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of, I've done it brilliantly, you should do it like that. It's I know what it's like to feel excited just by making music.
Yeah.
I also realize what it's like to have that taken away, and how it doesn't feel great.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the track that we're about to play is from someone who also took a long break and then came back, and is someone who actually DJed quite a lot in New England back in the day. So he's now going under the name Jacob Driver, but he used to be known as Jay Allegro back in the day. And if I'm right, and Jacob's going to have to correct me in the comments, I'm pretty sure he told me you guys played together back in the day.
Was I on good form?
I apparently so, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a joke. Like he said, as you alluded to earlier, he definitely wasn't laughing. He was definitely dancing from what he said. So, are
you one of those people where I've got a 12-inch record? Like I've given somebody something from my box and then signed it in what I felt at the time was an amusing fashion.
Oh yeah, I remember you and Budge doing that for many years. Trust me.
Yeah.
Only users lose drugs and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
No, I never put that.
No, yeah. Lee put that several times. Anyway, so we're gonna have a listen to this, because we've been going like an hour and we've listened to one track, and we've done pretty much an entire artist development masterclass over one record.
You were the one that set Patrice Bormel's 6 hours monster shift as the benchmark.
I wasn't setting it as a benchmark to surpass, but now I already regret my my laying down of the mark.
Do you want me to break out one of Chris Williamson's new titles?
Yeah, we will be here until 2 in the morning otherwise. Right. Okay, so here's Jacob. There we go. Very good. Very good indeed. We discovered Jay in January on a feedback stream we did with Guy Barone. And then he went on and did a trilogy of remixes of Guy's track called 1991, which then Guy subsequently signed.
That's cool.
So it's really, really cool from the perspective of, like, he's a Guy Barone super fan. And yeah, he was just happy to have Guy, like, listen to one of his tracks. And he's ended up on, like, patterns, and Guy signed his stuff and everything. So it's been a hell of a journey for him this year. And again, like I mentioned before, he's come back and done, a big break. And now he's back into production. And, well, yeah, I mean, listen to that. I mean, you did say you wanted some stuttery vocals. That definitely delivered that, mate.
Well, the first port call, like, hands up, he got an unelicited bass face. The first one, when the bass first comes in, I can't even remember. I was on camera. There was a good old fashioned, what we used to know 25 years ago as the cat's arsehole.
Yeah.
Like, if you pucker up, buttercup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the I smell shit face, as we called it in Liverpool back in the day.
It's really good. Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Before the break, maybe about 16 bars, 20 bars, just play there. It's where it's grooving, but some of the high end later elements haven't come in.
Like
a little bit further on than that.
Like about here.
Yeah, just play from there. Just briefly.
Sure.
Go post this first break. There's a discordant noise that comes in that I didn't think I was sure about first time, and now I'm pretty sure, or I'm definitely not sure about it.
Okay.
Because my favorite part of the record is, again, this came out of a recent discussion with Hanan, talking about music. Again, he was very complimentary. He said, "It's nice you've arrived back, and I don't feel like I have to pretend that we're friends to play your music."
Yeah.
Right. Yet, having said that, and I'm like, I wrote recently some comments on some old YouTube tracks, and people are like, "Why have you come back with this, false sense of faux humility?" And I'm not. It's not. If I have done something really great, I'd be the first to say, I think this is excellent. I think I've really added some creative value here. The exact example was the remix we did of Sander Kleinenberg's My Lexicon. We flattened that out heavily, but I never felt like it captured the spirit, the magic of what was a pretty seminal progressive house record, right? And this came up in conversation because, strangely, Hanan had been stalking me, stalking myself. This is narcissism run rampant, even for me. But I came up with a phrase that he liked, which is called lane statement. And Bounder is the king of lane statement, right? When you write music, and because I love so many different kinds of music, most people do, I get often confused. And when I've written stuff that hasn't been great or whatever, like the lane I attempt to fill is huge. It's like someone who's fallen asleep on the M25 and you're like, this person is not staying in the fast lane.
Yeah.
They're all over the shop. But if you compress the lane where you are delivering something that's of type, can you still make a statement within your lane?
Yeah.
If you can make a lane statement, there's nothing that stops it being relevant for more people, but not at the compromise of you having something to say.
Yeah.
Now, the vast majority of this record, for me, fits that. Like, we know exactly what lane this record's in. But in the opening portion, from the bass face of the first bass drop to his commitment to that change up straight off the bat, right, is great. My issue is I don't like what should be the best bit, which is you've laid all the groundwork. It's already something I like. And then this sound, and again, this is where it's becomes more about personal opinion. I don't feel elevates what was already really strong.
Right. Okay. So
right?
should we have a listen to that?
Yeah. It's that the haunted house chord structure.
Yeah.
I feel, and again, I think back and I speak from my own experience of having done it not as well as I would have liked. Is like power chords like that, or high end chords like that to create an uplift. If they're not perfect, are like a weight.
Yeah.
It's on top of everything out. Now it's the thing, and it's on, like, it's literally pulling the rest of the record down because the key, you're not Prince, and therefore you've discovered a key structure that no one's heard before. Whereas what I would prefer, that the noise at the end, which was the gated vocal, or the interesting thing he did there, to come out, and again that combination of what we spoke about with Luis, of having that energy remain, and combining maybe a drum roll that then is also part filter, or however that, to see your way out. Keep that bass. The first thing I'm also disappointed is you gave away one of the best features of the entire record early, which is no, but I was like, fuck me dead. This is literally, this guy this is balls, right? Because this is such a great toy. You've said, just wait. Like, if that's your delivery, if that's your opening, bass, and then the
what else have you got?
Right. But, and again, in the day-to-day, we always say it with one of our key clients, which is the Four Seasons. We didn't make you charge 2,000 euros a night. You chose that. So now you've set the benchmark for expectation. That was your choice, not ours. So if the benchmark gets set here, the only person responsible for then not reaching that level is the person who set the bar. If you come out the gate with a really great bass line and then key change it, you are duty bound to have something in reserve, unless it's one of those records where you return to that and the lane is smaller.
Yeah.
Right. Here, I enjoy so much about the record, and again, it's personal opinion. The choral structure feels like it's a diminishment of what I already liked.
Yeah.
And that feels like it's clutching, for me personally, defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't put it as strongly as this, but it just, I think the way that you're phrasing it, and my feeling on it, is that it almost felt like it kind of jumped the shark a little bit.
I didn't need it.
Yeah.
I would have been happy if, like, can you even doing this, like, where the bass thing is, just do the end of the drum roll back into, can you do that? Can you loop it here?
I would have a problem within the actual software to do it. But...
in my mind, I was already like, the solution already exists.
Yeah.
Like a really nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And straight into either 4 bars of hold, and then the key change. Yes, I enjoyed this when I first heard it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or that sort of overrun of top line that's more a separation of powers of, it's going to do its work when it's chugging.
Yeah.
I gave you the float.
Yeah.
That was enjoyable, but kept the energy up. And here's the connector, so it doesn't feel like these are just disparate parts within one piece of audio.
Yeah.
So having that section that comes out of the break and over, but then and again, I just use Pablo as an example because he does it so elegantly. There are little moments of magic where that bit, when progressive house DJs do it really well, and that the records come in and you can hear that they've looped out 8 bar, the boop-a-doom, boop-a-doom from the previous one. And they make it disappear in your mind, even though you knew you were listening for it as it passed out.
Yeah.
That's magic.
Yeah. Yeah,
showed me the trick. I knew how you were doing it, and I still couldn't work it out.
Yeah, and it's also the concept of, like, I talk about this all the time. I had a sensational conversation once with Nile Rodgers from She, and
Hold on 1 second while I just pick up this anvil.
Yeah, exactly. While I just sew together the hole in my pocket because I keep dropping names. But yeah, it was an incredible conversation, and he spoke to me at length about, because he reacted to my Liverpool accent, and he literally said like, "Oh, if it wasn't for you guys, like, I wouldn't be here." And I'm like, "Well, go on, explain that to me." And he said, "No, I learned how to play guitar from a Beatles songbook." So no Beatles, no Nile Rodgers, no disco, no hip hop, no house music. Yeah, you get the
This is not like my mate who's Greek, and every time he says I say anything, he goes, yeah. You know, Greeks invented the iPhone.
yeah.
Pretty sure that without racial stereotyping, that is just objectively untrue.
Well, but you know, he played a very big part in the story, and at the end of the day, that guitar of his is responsible for over $1 billion of music sales. You know,
because I keep getting it where you know you hear it if you listen to as much Six music as I do, that just every now and they play something and you're like, oh my god, he's in that as well.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
responsible for that as well.
yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Loads of Bowie, Let's
Well,
Dance,
Let's Dance,
etc.,
yeah.
etc., etc.
He was in Duran Duran. He was an active member of Duran Duran. You know, amongst other things. But what he talked to me about,
Sensibly, the only one to believe a tie that had less than 1 centimeter width was a sartorial statement that would survive post review.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and he spoke to me at length about this thing called like the one time only event, where like a lot of his records have these elements in where it happens only once.
Yeah.
And those moments are so good that you have to, metaphorically again, pick the needle up and put it back to where it was before to make sure you heard it right the first time. And it's something I've really integrated into, like, you know, working with artists over the years, is that if you can get one of them into your record, then it's always going to service it for, you know, for in a positive way. But it's also having the discipline to only do it the one time. And not over-egg it and not overuse it either.
It's funny because we, you know, similar methodology, similar mindset, similar sort of concepts, and we had a toolkit, but it was like you're not always drawing the same tools from the toolkit in order to make something.
Yeah.
So not every record needs a standout moment that you only do once.
Sure.
Think of the great house group, like the example I used, we talked about with someone the other day, was how impossible, or like it's like when you hear great music, like let's take Oasis for example, right, where you consider the Definitely Maybe was the closest they got to being the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
All the technology and all of the thing, they were only able to get close once. Even if you love their other music, in terms of its seminal influence on culture, they got it close once.
Yeah.
With all the history, all the review, all the love, all the skill, once. Right? So, and we were talking about Halo, Varga, Future, and you're like, when was the last time you heard a record like that?
Yeah.
That Sasha plays, Digweed plays, Lee plays, you know, Craig plays. Like everyone played that record and no one felt like they were compromising or reaching into an area that wasn't theirs by choice. What an extraordinary how the fuck are you ever going to get close to that record?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it does something that's uniquely special to that record. The mechanics of it are unique in that, right? It's sometimes you just have to accept that, you know, the adherence to a certain set of structures and workflows increases your opportunity for a mistake to lead you to greatness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you make a great point there, because I think actually these days, with the way that workflows are, they're so linear now, you know, with the way DAWs are, and, you know, endless sample packs and plug-in updates and stuff like that. There's actually surprisingly little room for like happy accidents now. And when you think about like great records, like personally, like regardless of whatever genre you're into, I've had a long time friendship with, and I'm very, very honored to like say this guy's a friend, is Paul Woolford.
Yeah.
And like obviously
he's written 1 or 2 records that I absolutely love.
Yeah. I mean, Erotic Discourse is one of them for me. You know, and that happened because he basically accidentally left a delay on a kick drum.
Right.
And that's how it happened. Do you know what I mean? And nowadays everything is so well manicured, and everything has its right place, that there's actually surprisingly little room for that magic moment to happen where I often like I was actually talking to Guy Barone about this last week. Me and him are like uber hardcore old school reactor heads.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love to do is I love to like open Reactor in like standalone mode, and I love to have the recorder on in the background, just recording everything I do. And often it's not the things that I'm actually doing on the various synths and samplers and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the thing it does when it moved from one preset to the next thing that made an incredible sound where you're like, right, clip that. Thank you very much. That's ended up in a
I've got
track.
a far more basic, budgety. I'm so old. We used Amiga version of that, which was how many times have you taken the wet from delay rather than the dry?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because in that is 1, 2, 4, 8, and you show me something that I didn't plan, because that's the starting place for then reordering. If everything is formulaic by definition, the random acts of creativity feel like they grate against it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
If you start with play, but not using that as an excuse to spend 12 hours just and not you're building a body of sounds that then feel like each of them is a legitimate starting place.
Yeah.
Then you can go through your process. Like looking at this record with Jacob, right? I got a bass face out of it. There was a smile out of it. That already is not every record I hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Again, it's personal opinion.
Yeah.
But there's already so much about the record that's great, and it's not necessarily the objective nature of something that's impossible to objectify.
Yeah, exactly.
The subject nature of what does Jacob feel about what his intention was and how he feels the record is now. And it's nice to have that. Like I already spoke about, if I was going to come back and do music, the commitment to execution is not for anything else, not self-aggrandizing, but it's a commitment to process.
Yeah, sure.
I want to make music, but I also, luxurious in terms, or have a luxury in terms of having taken a sideways turn, built a creative agency, and I like the doing. I like look, right. So in the age of AI, I don't think I've even shown you this, right?
No.
So I haven't posted it yet. So I was like, in the age of AI, right? So where everything will look like everything else. I said, I promised my daughter that if I came back to music, because it would take some of my time, my youngest, she suffers quite badly from ADHD, that she would be Our Secret Lab's creative director for me musically. And they wanted to commit on that. So she helped do the prompt for Draw Fire that made the little Bape character. She did the artwork for Gothamania. And then so she made this, right? So it's like, and then she built these little clouds. And then we're going to video it. And these are the people, because people get excited about who you're working with. So there's you in there, and there's Ranj in there, and there's the thing that I'm doing with Paul from Circulation. And it's the enjoyment of that. So it's fun to have worked with my daughter on artwork that's clearly not AI, purely to announce the fact that you're doing something you love, people you respect.
Amazing. Love it.
It doesn't matter if nobody else likes it. I enjoyed coming up with it with her. I enjoyed her drawing it. I enjoyed her feeling like that she was really adding value, that, the music for it will be me humming something whilst she slowly removes the clouds to reveal the names with, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? If that's where your headspace is at, it doesn't matter what I think or whether Jacob doesn't give a shit about whether the chords are dragging down his objectively good record. But it's what's meaningful to him. Yeah. Does he want to play it out? One of my biggest benchmarks is what previously would have been an acetate. Again, that's how old I am. But now, if you've got something on a stick and you're playing out, and you've got something that you made that makes you smile, or you look forward it to being the highlight of a block, like you're taking other people's great records and using them to set up your really good record, if you love this, I question how will it ever get better than that. Like, so fuck the chords. Like, it's like, if you know, so much of the record is great and it satisfies what you like, then you're off to the races.
Yeah.
For me, subjectively, so much of the record is correct and right, and all of it's in the same space, just as it was with the first one. It's now, it's that step, and I hear it in my own, whether it's Pablo or Sasha and this and that. I think in combination with other, write good music, but I definitely hear people who I respect and love and have a lot of passion for regularly delivering great music. And the key is to be inspired by that and use it as a draw. Like, you know, it's not a diminishment of one's own potential achievement. It's a consistent benchmark. So I love to play golf with, I mean, everyone's better at golf than I am, but I love someone who's like ripping it from 250. It makes me want to be better so that I can rip it from 250. I don't think, fuck it.
Yeah.
Because there's only one Fortet. There's only one Monobo. What are you going to do? Just shut up shop because you haven't written Future? No. This is the mindset.
Yeah.
You know, so much of this is about right, you know, is right and feels good. It gives you those moments that are in themselves the essence of why you're doing it. That's the kind of thing where you can afford to spend some time and now go, right, how am I making the most? And this is something I've had to try and learn, is how can I make the most out of what I've got?
Yeah.
You know, usually if you've got to the point, like, you know, like he did, where you're 32 in and you've had a great bass drop for a cat's arsehole and a smile as a result of having given away a baseline change. I mean, that's a strong start.
Oh yeah. So
the question is, and again with the top line used at the end and the break in the middle, maybe with some sort of line or the hat's filtered or whatever it is to take a little out but keep driving the record forward, I would suggest that all of what is required to turn it from being a very good record into something else is already contained within the sequence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So yeah, I mean, as I say, you know, Jay could actually leverage those pads and chords in a slightly different way a bit later in the record, or even potentially, you know, drop them all together or utilize them in a slightly different fashion. You know, maybe
that's the top line that feels like it's saved to the end.
Yeah.
Where I think having had more space to breathe in the opening break that features more of a drop off.
Yeah.
By definition, it's fighting less.
Yeah.
Lose the chords, introduce those parts, even if not all at once or in some portion, play them differently, remove half the notes, the basic kind of, or let's see what this gives us.
Yeah.
In that, more elegantly, but maybe, you know, if, again, sometimes people want what they think they're expecting. Like sometimes I don't want the break to go, I just, on 64, I wanted that fucker to just drive over me like a truck. And the fact that you fannied around and made me wait this 3 seconds, it'll still be great, but it wouldn't have been the greatest if I'd been run over by a fucking truck.
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Yeah, so it's here, like, as I say, all the elements are in there. That elegance in that first break, having already shown some of the toys, then these are the blocks you're moving around. I just, you know, from my side, the one misstep is the chords, and also that whole section, the chords replace some of the innovation that you heard previous to the break.
Yeah.
So it feels like he's thought or feeling, this is my next elevation of how the record proceeds. From a personal point of view, I do not feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fair enough. Fair enough. No, and Jay's really happy with the feedback, and it makes total sense to him, and he's definitely going to play around with it. I think it's getting so much with this stuff. It's like I always talk about, it's like getting the contour right. It's getting the storytelling right. And
again, it's, if you know, it's like the baseline change is something that's so good. Is also is that the thing that I found, again, one of the reasons, and again, this is a real sort of antithesis to what's happening here, but my procrastination at doing it myself is I get so frustrated with the inability to try 4 or 5 ideas quickly and meaningfully without them being fully formed to know whether I'm onto something or it's madness. So here, for example, the faster you are able to manifest a skill set that brings you to a certain level, like I'd like to hear a version or one where it comes to the break, it's and it just plays with the bass line that was the most fun thing in the record.
Yeah.
So you think you know what it is, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just reply the sequence, you know, or just double up the sequence and try that. And maybe you feel it, maybe you don't. Maybe it's, oh, that was cool, maybe it isn't.
Yeah.
Or just return it on a loop within Logic if that's his door of choice. To have it come out the break as it did, but not go into the choral part and return to the early bass change.
Sure.
Because that's 30 seconds work that gives you a feeling or an estimation of what it might potentially feel like if you stripped out rather than added on.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. Are you ready for some breakbeat? Yeah. Look at his face. Right. Here we go.
Oh, you had me at disco wind.
Well, there's your first slice of breakbeat for this evening. I was going to say, Cass, if you don't mind, I might take the first round on this one.
Go for it.
So, yeah, I really, really like this, and I like where it's going. For me, I've got two major issues with it. Well, I say major, there's two bits of advice, really, more than anything. I find in general, like, the snare and then the layer of the clap snare, like, not really quite working for me. Like, the snare's not really hitting with enough crack. And then when the clap comes over the top, the two of them aren't really quite sitting together and really, like, reinforcing each other. They're kind of, like, almost, like, competing in a way. So there needs to be a better, like, layering there for me, like on a technical element, and then that second break is really, really nice, but it feels a bit safe, where like it goes through, you know, the lovely orchestral thing, and then it kind of builds up from there. I'd like something a little more chaotic, I suppose is the word, with a bit more tension in it. And obviously then it can kind of like seamlessly kind of integrate into the build, and it makes the drop a little bit more effective. So I just felt like the second breakdown is a little bit linear in terms of like, it's okay, here's a break, stop, here's the orchestral bit, beautiful, here's the build, okay, and then here's the drop. It like they kind of all not sound separate to one another, but like it just feels like it needs to integrate a little bit more and like kind of culminate and crescendo in something like really, really meaningful in that moment. So, you know, they're the two major things I think I'd say Sean, whose track it is, to work on. How about yourself? What are you thinking?
I think I would agree about the certain sort of nature of disparity of it. Like, I think if you play the from about 8 bars in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it'll be about 15 seconds in, something like that.
Just play from there. Now, arguably, only a certain set of individuals would ever play this bit of the record.
Yeah.
Right? But listen to that. And now go to 8 bars after the second break.
So first break.
Right at the end. Right at the end. Right there. Right, just you can pause it there. No one who's playing the opening of that record
is playing the end of that record.
Playing the end of that record. And me included.
Okay.
The beginning begins with a sense of almost, whether it's the direct like inspiration of hastily erected wooden shacks. It's got that nice northern exposure sense of potential kind of expectation to it. But it also feels like it's wearing the shackles of a hybrid record of expansive kind of that big, you know, like the best bit of the record for me is one of the quietest. You just go, he just hints at it. They're also, like, I would consider to myself to be a breakbeat connoisseur. Like, because it's something like I love, like all of the different intimacies of it, whether it's like, I wanted to write a podcast that was exclusively about which is your favorite moment in all of breakbeat when the break comes back. Do we have this discussion?
No, I don't think so. You mentioned this for the first time.
So, and the argument I was having with my friend, who's also a huge like breaks fan, he was hanging out with promoters in Vancouver in the late 90s. So a lot of, you know, hard kiss style, you know, breakbeat DJs that Sasha and John heard and then looped into the likes of Northern Exposure and everything else. So he and I are constantly having back and forth. And my argument is there's that bit in, which is clearly not my favorite Prodigy record, despite them being one of my favorite bands of all time. Fat of the Land is my joint favorite album of all time, together with Depeche Mode's Violator. So, but in Poison, there is that bit where he just waits at the end, and it comes in and it goes, yeah, and there's that right in it. That, like, I have listened to that thousands of times for the just contained joy of me just spiraling around the kitchen, embarrassing the children at the madness of it all. Just, I was like, it will never get better than that. And they're like, are you taking me to school or not? And breakbeat has that fashion in the way that, you know, a 4/4 record requires so much more over the top in terms of bass line structure, energy and power. In a breakbeat record, right, and I use the example, I think you and I had this discussion before, of Patrice's remix of Ayahuasca, which is one of my favorite break records of the last 10 years. How little there is. Can you get that up?
I can try and bring it up.
Yeah, just you get it on YouTube. And these are different records. But this kind of like big, you know, like every chord is like the bass line from the previous one. It's an expectation of you're setting these benchmarks. It's all got to go over the top, which is the reason for that top line riff at the end that then features, like, I like moving, you know, through kind of an oscillator or the frequency changes in order to provide a continued progression whilst retaining repetition. Right? That's how a lot of this kind of music works. But he like opens up the envelope, for example, fully. I didn't find it an enjoyable improvement on the other elements of the record I did like. So the bit that I really like is one of the quietest bits, which is he hints at, and again, it's a different style, but he hints at the beginning of the break starting to come back in at the beginning of that second break.
Yeah.
It's just that hint of that, where less is so much more. Right? And that feels like it's in keeping with the record I thought we were going to get. And having made the truck joke before, the build into that break that doesn't deliver, like, what DJ is welcoming that? Right? And again, it's really full and rich and busy from the off, where that's the bit I'm probably going to loop. And you're not writing to committee. You're not writing to formula in order to get it across the line. But as I say, my own learning is I wrote music mostly like this, full and rich and with loads of ideas without a lane statement.
Yeah.
If you want somebody to play this and for it to feature a meaningful collection of good quality creative ideas manifested in a record that feels like they're all part of the whole, some bits won't make the cut. This feels like there are 2 or 3 elements in here that have made the cut that shouldn't have done. Right. And again, the standard is high. Right. The edit is where the magic's at. Because then you're doing more with the bits that everybody really loves.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. Yeah, because there's an element of like throwing as much shit at the wall to see what sticks, and then wiping off the bits that don't is the second half of the phrase I always use.
But it just feels like there's a better record in here. Again, it's not for an absence of ideas or for an absence of creative skill set. But that self editory process
Yeah.
where having somebody else in the studio is so helpful.
Yeah, that's what separates good from absolutely insane, right? Is the ability to, you know, to actually go through that editing process. And Sean's in the chat here, and he's just asking, like, specifically, what are those elements that you think would need to come out?
I just, from like, just play it here. Just where it's just you can see it where the beats are starting to come back in the second break.
Yeah, sort of around here. Yeah.
No. Before that, I'm pretty sure it happens quite early. Does it need to sort of tease it in here, or is this
Sort of
still
around here. Well, I'll play it from here. There we go.
Right?
Yeah, amazing.
Why have we not got a record that's mostly that? That feels like it's the end of it's a punchline to the setting.
Yeah.
Right? That is what I was expecting if you go here when it first comes in. Like, no, keep going. No, it's the next bit. You remember there's this false drop.
Oh yeah.
Like, what breakbeat record do you know that is committing to that kind of top line or midline prior to setting its stall out as to what the beats will do?
Yeah.
Can you imagine William Orbit giving you a top line before Justify My Love or Frozen or any of his other, the beats do the work, and then commit to how little is required over the top because you're enjoying the nature of the broken beat. Like I told you, so many of my favorite, Prodigy is not a great example because it's so massive, but so many of my favorite breakbeat things really are less is more.
Yeah.
Like, you think Northern Exposure and you think like Hard Kiss and you think Rabbit in the Moon and everything else, just that, like that repetition of that single line, and when the beats come in, they're almost so imperceptible, and you're just like, it's like a reverse space. Like, it's like negative dark matter. Like, nothing, so little happens, but you've been made to wait for it, that the efficiency of a small amount is like, oh
yeah,
suits you. Right here. And again, I speak from the history of often doing it where there's a lack of certainty or intention. I feel like that you will commit to more across every area to fill out a singularity of vision. And this record feels like it's at minimum 2 records. Sorry. Right? Just by virtue of the fact that the first really has no connection to the end. And again, I speak from the experience of having done that on numerous occasions, especially from remixes, where I felt like I had satisfied the remit of including bits from the original, but not created a record that I would be excited about to have. And then my benchmark was on the occasions when I played with, bigger DJs, which was often because everyone was bigger than I was. I wanted them to go, what's this? That was my intention, almost exclusively, was to create records that caused other people to be upset I hadn't sent them to them. Because I'm a bit cunty in that regard. Right. So that they were, you're generating a sense of interest and engagement from someone who's like, oh, I've got 2 boxes here of records that nobody else has got, but what's this? So again, it's the nature of intention. What is the purpose here? Who's this for? Why? What do you love about it? What don't you? And then you'll find that what can often be perceived as a difficult process to begin with, if you don't have intention, how can you possibly edit to source? If you don't know where you're going, which direction will you go? If you know that you love breakbeat and have, set up a benchmark, and all great artistry is, cultivated theft, right? One's creating out of the ether something that's never happened before, or very rarely. So it's okay to say, wouldn't it be great if it made me feel like this? Or I love it when X does Y. And build to process with the tools that you've already built. As opposed to this, which feels like, I like a big intro. I like a kind of acid running line. I like these big beats. I like a secondary break. You have to pick a lane statement. Who realistically would play this in its current form? What is it that stops them from playing it? And again, you're not writing to committee, but you're easing what can be for many a stultifying process.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable to think some of the things I've created have to fall by the wayside. But in the main, it's very rare
21 hours.
that I've come to a record which I know is too full and made painful choices or engaged in a process that at times it's felt like really tough and haven't felt better out the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here, like I say, like that opening is really great. It's €2,000 a night. I didn't set the benchmark for the room rate. You did. You opened this record with the kind of thing that unless you're one of the elite DJs, you would start your electric groove mix or a monster 6-hour session with this record. You have built that choice. You have set that bar. It's like Eddie Murphy. What have you done for me lately? Comprised into this 6-minute window. So again, these are all personal choices.
Yeah, sure.
But as with the other two, the answer is within. There's a great breakbeat in that secondary, break. There's a great sense of, tension and release. But imagine without that first drop and then just dropping into those, that loop that he's got there. Then mapping out far lesser drums, which are really quite seismic, mapping out on that so that you could have that first bit 4-bar, 8-bar, and play with some, some small changes before you then drop the, a heavier kick to, that's your main drive throughout.
Yeah.
Already, tiny micro change would make that the kind of record where I'd be like, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's I get it all the time where I've taken all this effort and time in order to produce X. Why would I now not have X?
Yeah,
that's
and it's tough to leave stuff on the cutting room floor. It really, really is, and I totally get where you're coming from because it's difficult sometimes to kill your darlings, I suppose, to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's again, this really defined by. Do you say his name was Sean?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Sean's sense of intention. What does he like? What does he love? Is he a DJ? Is having records or enjoying creating records for playing out his predominant concern? Therefore, thinking in a more structured lane statement kind of way that makes it relevant for DJs because you want house DJs to play this record because it feels like it's relevant to that.
Yeah.
Not because every record must be like that, but if you're committing to it being an out record, you have to start from that position. And it feels like it's a negative. It's like, who would create great art by thinking what will not happen? Realistically, it's a good starting place to take that really horrendous nature of a blank canvas and make some marks that define how you will spend your time. Otherwise, we could do everything. It could be anything. That's the end of this. The end before you began.
Yeah.
But here, taking a record that in the main features great elements, concentrating on a breakbeat that feels like it could be pretty special, augmenting and supporting that, lessening that first break so that when it commits and I feel like now's the time, it is the time, and allowing that second portion to be born out of that again.
Yeah, it's contoured again, isn't it? Is that
word
again?
Yeah, and it's the process of really making the most out of the best of the work that you've already done. So it's not wasteful. It just feels like it.
Yeah, it's just augmented. And in that situation, as I say, it's difficult sometimes to actually have to say goodbye to one or two things in the service of something greater.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because each of them at the time, the number of times I've come up with something and then realized that what was the absolute bedrock of the record now has to go. That really does feel like Jenga with Michael J. Fox, because you're like, well, fucking hell, what are we doing now? Now we've just got the top bit, nothing else, right? What are we doing here? But there also needs to be a certain amount of flexibility and a certain amount of appreciation that sometimes the magic happens at the beginning and you get off and running and you're arguing about the fringes that go on top to elevate. Another time, there's no legislation for creativity. Just the guarantee is the longer you spend, meaningfully attempting to be creative, the better the chance you have at being lucky.
Yeah.
Those who have a process and commit to being in front of the studio or sitting down at the typewriter are the ones who are always the luckiest.
Yeah, because they're in the position to actually receive
you,
it.
You legitimize
Yeah.
the chance to suddenly go,
Yeah.
oh wow, what if I did this, or what if I lose that?
It's Stephen King on writing. It's Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art.
Yeah, well, it's like Roald Dahl, prior to the concerning anti-Semitism. Roald Dahl, when he would he's got 30 HB pencils and a board, and he'd sit it on his lap, and he'd go to the shed, and that's it. And this is where I am now. This is where Matilda and Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach, because this is what I'm doing here.
Sit your ass in the chair and do it, basically.
Yeah, and again, just like the other records, most of the hard work has been done.
Yeah,
this is not.
And this is a good thing because, like, I'll be honest with you, like, Sean's been someone I've been working with for a while, and he's showing enormous amounts of potential. And the lovely thing is that he really has been like sitting his ass in the chair and doing it every day, grinding. So, like you say, over a long enough time frame, and obviously you're hearing just a small snapshot of this. Like some of his 4/4 stuff is absolutely spectacular, and it's just like one of them. I think he's finished like 20 plus records this year, and one of them is going to hit.
Where does this sit within his 20? Where would you feel like this sits in terms of your own personal recognition?
Personally, I think it's in the top half. I would say, without being, it's definitely not like my favorite of his. Like, it's definitely not like the I don't think it's the best of what he's done. But breakbeat is not something that it's not his normal wheelhouse. If I'm being honest, like the vast majority of his work is like in the 4/4 realm. Okay. So, like you say, like breaks is a it's an art form in and of itself.
Did you get? Were you able to get Patrice's remix up?
I was, but I'm gonna get pinged by the YouTube police if I play it.
Oh, fine. Okay, no worries.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's a fantastic record. It really is.
Yeah, and again, you're not setting the example that that's the only way to write a great breakbeat record. There are plenty of busy breakbeat records. Bicep and plump DJs arguably exist within the same broken universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It couldn't be more different.
No, exactly. Yeah. This for me like reminds me of like a lot of Y4K stuff from back in the day as well. Like you'd hear stuff like this on, those sorts of compilations for sure.
Yeah. I think again, it's the understanding that the tough yards are at the end when you've done the legwork of creating a palette of sounds that feel like you have everything that you need, but the arrangement's not quite right.
Yeah.
Here, like I think for him, for Sean, feeling like the end of the record feels like a natural extension of where the record started is his starting place.
Yeah.
Right. When that journey, you can still move the blocks about within. But when it feels like it's one record, not at a minimum two, maybe more.
Yeah.
Then, that process, tough as it is, it's brutal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And as Victor Nova's just said in the chat, the potential's there, it just needs fine-tuning. But that fine-tuning process is the brutal part, right? They often say that it's not the 26 miles that kills you when you run a marathon, it's the 0.2 at the end.
But that's the brutality of it, is also that you're fighting then against questioning whether you are seeking to genuinely fine-tune for improvement, or because you're worried that when you finally call time, somebody else will be able to say, I do or don't like it.
Yeah.
The longer you fine-tune, the longer you push back that moment of realizing that something that took your care, your passion, your love, your dedication, your commitment, somebody else said, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's very true.
It's brutal, but that's what it is to be an artist. Great art is like a sponge. Like all of the great things where people have come up to me, it's what they say is, I liked X because it reminded me of that time we were trashed coming back from Crete. Or on the few occasions that somebody said something mental, it's like perceptions like tattooed on our fingers we got married, or it's tattooed on the internet. Like, it's, first of all, I would question their taste, and in many cases their sanity. But these are the magic moments that none of that was planned. We'd gone to have burritos, then came back to nothing, right? But will you commit to doing the best you can in the reality that you have, and then others take on what you created and give it meaning, firstly to them, and then if you're lucky enough, like we had, balance, whether it's playing somebody out, or hearing it with your family, or having someone come up to you and go, wow, this is really great. That's the intention, is to create something of worth, first for yourself, then for others, and then if you're lucky, that love is returned.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, shall we move on to the next? We have Duncan here. His artist name is Kick Doctor, which is a fantastic artist name, considering the fact the thing I've had to work on with him the most this year has been his kicks.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he works in the medical field. I was like, that'd be fucking
That'd be amazing. I mean, we've made all the jokes like, is there a kick doctor in the house? There's not enough 50 hertz.
That would be amazing.
That kind of thing.
I mean, well, let's not forget that James Holden's best mate, Will Morris, was actually a brain surgeon.
So when he says it's not brain surgery, he means it.
I remember him, like, we were trashed somewhere once, and he was like, he goes, I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing that I'm the only one in this building that knows just how bad this is for us. And I was like, oof. Yeah. Talk about being Debbie Downer.
mate. I mean, and I had kind of the opposite situation. Like, a lot of my early friends that I made when I first started going to Cream, a lot of them were like hardcore like chemistry majors at like Liverpool University. So they were in the lab after hours, like doing all kinds and knowing exactly what they were doing to themselves on the weekend, if you know what I mean.
Oh man, once I've heard Oakenfold play Man with No Name, I'm heading back south. that's me out.
Listen, who said it was grim up north? It's not. Listen. Right, so we're gonna play this. It's Kick Doctor, and the track is called Sonic. Here we go. Kick Doctor will see you now.
Okay, so this feels easier, but probably is slightly more complex, paradoxically speaking.
Right.
It's definitely got everything it needs.
Mm-hmm.
There are some, strangely, this one feels like, for me, where there are more absolutes. Again, that is trying to apply an objective mindset to something that's subjective.
Yeah.
There's no reason, the irony of holding the main kick out for so long for no obvious benefit. There's no, I'm like, this can't be the kick. Even without cheating and looking at the waveform, therefore what is the purpose?
It's a minute and a half before it drops in fully.
That's one. And secondly, the trumpet is an example of something that, again, I've had in the past, where you've got a number of elements. Again, this is just objective. They're not fully formed, and they are asked to do a job they are not suited for.
Right.
That first part, there's no way you're adding a sound like the trumpet to do the lifting of interest that should be on the chunk alone, and in the main is there. Right. So, you know, this is definitely a less is more. Like, talk about a one-time thing. And again, you know, trumpets and saxophones in modern music, apart man for the red face, blah, 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 blah. That's a personal choice. But if you're looking for a high-end augmentation to retain interest whilst the record chugs along in an 8-bar loop structure, I don't feel like it has the weight.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, I would much more enjoy hearing more of that fully formed. I'll give you one of my absolute like basic tricks wherever I am. And we did this with, like, even though I never felt we got that record right, like Fever Rising with Danny, and took it to him and he went, great, this is, we should always do this.
Yeah. If
you've got something that you know is close, like that main line, right? The record's hanging on that line and the efficacy of the beat struck, like it's a good chugging, enjoyable record that is just shy of commitment to being something more than that. And it's also a lane statement by virtue of the fact that you could hear it poolside during the day. You could hear Danny play it on the boat, right? We're already in that environment. I've moved beyond is this the sum of its parts to this could already feature in a number of places if it just, right? That's already, we're past the what is this, and we're into what could it be somewhere else. Yeah. That's already a huge statement for me of we're very much in the right area. But what I always do is if I've got like a main, if I've got a main sound that's just not quite delivering, like this one would be more enjoyable if that did a lot more of the heavy lifting. And the trumpet, which, all jokes aside, I don't mind, but that's an augmentation. You can't build a cake out of icing.
It's an accoutrement, isn't it? It's a bit of ear candy. It's a sprinkle.
I must have cake. I must have cake. Right? Icing on top of a great cake makes for a better cake. A cake that is exclusively icing is fucking inedible. Right? And this is predominantly cake, but the key thing is to bring it up in terms of that chunk, is to take that main line and triple stack it. Yeah. Right? And then have fun and see how you might have it where you ask three copies of it to just sit, and you compress those three where you get a different vibe to take it away from the kind of simplistic arpeggiated nature of it and give it just weight. Yeah. Like it's one of those weights where just that one element really is doing all the heavy lifting, where you can't fuck it up. But the record is in 4 parts. 4 elements are doing everything. Then you can trumpet yourself into oblivion because the chunk's so good. I don't care.
You can do whatever you want with it.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you make such a great point about that, because like the chunk, as you call it, is something I often term the coat hanger.
Right.
And the reason, because basically, like, if you've got a good rhythmic foundation, you've got a good chunk, and you've got a good groove,
which this has.
Yeah, which absolutely it has.
Which this already has.
That becomes a coat hanger, which means you can hang anything you like off it, and it'll work.
Let's just quickly let's go back to here. Like, so just a little bit earlier than that. Just earlier than that, I was already enjoying the record here. Just play there.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Right.
Yeah. But imagine that with a full kick there.
That's well. Then I was already like,
yeah,
€2,000 a room night.
Mm-hmm.
You have set the bar by not having the kick here. What have you invented?
What have you got in store for us later on, Ambassador?
Just put the kick here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that full kick with stripped back with that. I mean, I love her. You know, with the issue with the breakbeat earlier with the choral line where it felt like it's a weight.
Mm.
You know, a simple single string in terms of creating that tension.
Yeah.
Then allows simplistic chunk to feel like it's the perfect answer to an as yet unanswered audio question.
Yeah.
The answer is chunk.
Yeah.
The answer is oof.
Yeah.
Right. And this record has that. So you must deliver.
Yeah, sure.
It's not better for more tension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
the record's good. It's not that good.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, for me, it's like I totally agree with you on all of this. On the stacking of the ARP, I think a lot of what I found was like through the record that it kind of got a bit linear and it got a bit samey because there wasn't enough variation.
We're back. But my cheat is one of them straight into the delay, keep the wet.
Yeah. And
then if the wet's enjoyable, you might have a period where you might re-edit it and think, oh fuck, the wet's by magic or just by chance or by luck.
Yeah.
And so on and so on and so on. So you're ring fencing your desire to stretch out creativity. So I'm not losing everything I love about the record. I'm playing within confines that allow me to search out those elements or improve what's already there without it feeling like it's an unnecessary step backwards.
Yeah, sure.
Retain that this record in the main, we're already there. I love a lot about it. Like I said, my mental process was not, why is this record not everything it could be? It was already, I could hear it by the pool.
Yeah.
Hear it early on. You know, so if you replace the trumpets with a magic moment that served that same purpose but had that much more magic, then it could even go beyond that, maybe. But here, like I say, it's just the kick's got to come earlier. The main line feels like that's your playground.
Yeah.
But there were also, again, there were one or two other elements that I liked, but also the pattern of the trumpet feels, considering, like there's a different, like, isn't it funny? Like play the bass line, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Now, how simple is that?
Yeah.
And how utterly
effective,
satisfying. I do not want anything else.
Yeah, you don't need anything else apart from the rest of the kick.
I enjoy the way it goes up. I enjoy the way it goes down. I enjoy the fact that you haven't run it off. So whatever delay is there has room to breathe, to exist, to push the record forward.
Yeah, there's space, isn't there?
Right, now play the trumpets.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The problem with hooks and top lines, and you will know this better than anyone, there's a reason why. What's the name of not Betty Boo? There's one of those singers who create like endless hits. What's her name? Kathy Dennis.
Yeah, Kathy Dennis. Yeah.
Right. The reason is it's the messy of potential of melodic music. Simplistic bass line, record's almost done. Simplistic trumpet line, there's a reason why you would get someone in who can either play trumpet or find a sample that feels like it's got something to say. That feels like you can't play trumpet or you don't understand melody. This record is clearly being written by somebody who does understand dance music.
Yeah.
Right? What's your lane statement? Right? The simplistic nature of the trumpet does not deliver on its promise. Simplistic nature of its bass line requires no improvement.
So that's what you lean on. Yeah.
Those two things are the same in terms of delivery, like they both are simple lines written in a door, probably. One is eminently fit for purpose. The other cannot carry the weight of expectation for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So you
And
change
again,
its function within the record, right? You make it again less of a water carrier, if you will, and you make it more of an accoutrement, like we were saying before, with
yeah,
effects and
or
mm,
you exactly like you
mm,
take it out of it being a trumpet that's written in a simplistic line.
yeah,
Allow the bots here. That's where, you know, that's what the robots are great at, that throwing them into the blender of some sort of plugin and everything else and
mm,
allowing it to spit out something that no longer sounds like a 6 note trumpet line.
mm,
Then that's your top line, doing exactly what you wanted without anybody saying, is that trumpet?
yeah,
It's the process. But this record, I think it feels strangely the most cohesive. And so that line probably feels, I'm giving it pelters because it feels like oil on the water.
yeah,
Most of this is absolutely where it should be.
mm.
Therefore, that sticks out as a result of it being the one element that
That
probably
is out of
doesn't.
place.
Right, because the rest of it is tweaks up and down for personal opinion.
Yeah.
And it probably, the record needs a mix down and the kick has to start earlier, I would objectively think.
Mm.
Right. But in the main, there's a great record there in its current format. It just, you know, all of the elements that we've spoken about, I would estimate would take it into the kind of record that you would enjoy playing regularly.
Mm.
And that, there's not many things that I could think of as a better compliment than that.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. It's true. No, some really amazing feedback, and for me, I think it's down to like variation. Even like even if you were to keep it very simple, even with the ARP, there's so much that can be done with the ARP. Throwing it to delays, keeping it wet, like you were saying before, expanding and contracting things like filter cutoffs and envelopes, and even like say for example, certain notes can throw up to a higher octave or like a different, you know, interval,
It's
that
so
kind of
funny.
thing, just to kind of, you know, give it that throw, you know.
It's so funny. The nature or the kind of unspoken potential latent pressure that is preloaded by producing music within a lane that has the word fucking progressive in it feels, if this 8 bars isn't doing something that the previous 8 bars didn't do, am I progressing?
Yeah.
Am I just writing house now?
Mm-hmm.
Yet you think about those records where, narcotics or not, where you've gone, have I been dancing to this record for an hour or just 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, there is joy in elegant repetition, but it is not being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you are able to hang on something that's doing the same thing now that it was a minute ago, how good is this thing?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are certain elements of this that feel like that.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Like, I enjoy the bass line, like I enjoy the nature of it. Like, it's, give me more of that.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Then the augmentation that happens over the top is really like which hot sauce you like. That's just, it's so much personal taste.
Yeah, sure.
If you're building it to serve a purpose, here objectively are what we feel would be required to make that feel more appropriate. But that's a personal taste.
Yeah.
But in the main, if you are a dance record producer, progressive or otherwise, this is very much a Ron Seal record in a good fashion.
Yeah.
Right? It does what it says on the tin, and that's no bad thing.
Doesn't need to be any more complicated than that.
No. And that, again, not every record is every record. What record is this? Like, if it's a great record, you know, it feels like with some tweaks, it will be a meaningful part of the palette of an artist. You imagine this record in House's hand if we just brought it up by 5%.
Yeah.
It'd be the kind of thing that have you leaning over the booth when you think, fuck, I don't have any records like this, or I don't play records like this.
What the fuck is that?
Right. Is there any greater validation of what you're doing than that you've achieved that sense of interest without being obvious?
And
that's why the trumpets rankle.
Yeah.
They are not part of that elegance. For me.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I'm going to say to that. One, I'm going to give you some context. Duncan's only been producing for just over maybe a year and a half. So the fact that like he's at this point within 18 months is quite impressive for me. You know, where we're talking about it needs to go 5% and probably Danny Howes would love it, you know?
Yeah, but I think again this is the kind of thing where you are rewarded by like with however you are producing, you've got to hear a record like this out.
Yeah.
Right? You have to, you if you're not creating something that satisfies musically, and there are some records that satisfy musically that you listen at home. You think about Lee's a great example. Lee, from my perspective, was always my favorite DJ by virtue of the fact that his skill set was excellent in terms of like moving from breaks, which I love, to other music. Then he decided, I'm going to own this melodic techno lane all day I dream. This is my thing, right? That music arguably feels like it's comfortable in the background while you cook or you're on a rooftop in Brooklyn. Like that's his lane. That's his intention. There is nothing, and it's not damning with faint praise. That there's nothing offensive about it. There's no big, monster drum. Like, it's not what Hanan and Nick are doing. It's not what Sasha, like, he owns that lane, right? And it sounds good on the headphones on a walk, and it sounds good out, genuinely satisfying those two disparate audio lanes pretty well. This is a record that's built for out. This is a record that's built for out. So therefore,
and you make another good point there, mate, because a lot of these records, like, I mean, you've had this so many times, and I've had this so many times as well. When you hear a record back in the day when, we went to record shops and you put the headphones on and you listen to it and it was like, or you get it home and you listen to it and you're like, and then you hear it out in a club and it absolutely smashes your face in.
But that is also, I think, I definitely came to terms with and felt comfortable with, and again, using the football analogy, it's not only Messi or Ronaldo who can play football. If I had the same amount of records that Sasha had and Danny Tenaglia had, it's okay for their artistry to weave a tapestry that, whether you call it objectively superior or not, is miraculous in its storytelling. Right? It's fine to have those same records and still tell a story that may be good, maybe worse, maybe better, maybe different. This is a record that feels like it's part of a palette, or could be. Sometimes the simplicity, the trumpets mean that it's that record. Right? That's the record. It's the one with the trumpets on it. If it's the record that's about the groove and the feeling and the kick doctor delivering on the the promise of his name, it's that record. And I would argue that record feels like it's more meaningful for more people who could do more with it. Because you haven't set, if you're defining a record through a singular sound or a singular moment, everybody better be on board with that. Because you've set your stall out behind it.
2008.
Right? That record could be integrated into a number of sets and a number of flows.
No, absolutely. No, it's fantastic feedback, and the thing that's coming across tonight in general, mate, is like you've brought such a different perspective to almost anyone that we've actually had on these sessions, because you're aligning. Well, the normal feedback is like, we're normally talking about technical things and, you might want to shave 8 bars here and this, that, and the other. You're bringing like a completely more like taste-driven element to it. You know what I mean?
You don't need me for the mechanics of music that's written in multiples of 8.
But that's exactly why I've brought you in, because of these, and that's why I asked you, because of the conversations that we had, both Jordan and shortly after Croatia, where it was just fascinating to dig in with you to it, just to bring somebody who's got like a completely different perspective, and it's more like, do you remind me of a little bit? Is actually somebody who was a friend of mine. Actually, was Philippe.
Is it cross between Han Solo and Stephen Fry?
No. But now you've mentioned it, I can say it. No, actually, you remind me a little bit in the way that you talk about music around Philippe Zadar from Cassius.
How does he talk about music? Does he talk about music like he's talking about something else?
Well, he is unfortunately no longer with us. Because he was one of the guys, from Cassius, like 1999. He was like one of the big French guys, and he actually produced the final Beastie Boys album, as well as like Phoenix and Cassius and blah 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 blah, and like just his whole thing is just like it's all just about his taste. Do you know what I mean? And like how he views and perceives things, and how he thinks about things in terms of like like you mentioned before, like intention, and what is the end effect that the artist is going for, and does that align with the artistic vision? And like there's so much that you've said tonight that's like really really stood out in terms of like actually like one of the things that we kind of like get wrong, I think, in a lot of like modern music production, especially in electronic music and especially in like genres like progressive house, is that we think it's all just about the actual like DAW technique and the functional sort of like processes like mix down, mastering, arrangement, that kind of thing. And actually like it's a whole different element of like developing taste, developing a sensibility around like what is it that you're trying to do in this particular moment,
Key thing here is that's been borne out by every record we've heard is that the structural and functional audio skill set is no longer clearly deficient in any of them to allow them now to create and have a voice.
Yeah.
Getting that in play, and arguably technology is more supportive than it's ever been in that regard, puts you in an area where you can give yourself time to find a voice and to do something and to deliver on your intention meaningfully without it being a ball ache or without feeling like I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah.
That, that feeling it is really crushing, because it's like you can see your goal, but the lack of skill set means it's unattainable to you. That hasn't been on display in any of we're asking people to move things around for 5-10% because that's the game we're playing. In the end, the music is simplistic in its nature, but the magic of what makes records ones that you return to is it's literally, we used to play with a game with the kids where we would say, right, you could have 20 quid if you can get a handful of sand from that end of the beach to this, and they arrive this and then open it and all the sand is gone. It's like, how can Guardians of the Galaxy 2 be so shit when you added Snake Plissken to it and the first was so good?
How? Yeah.
It's like before he got cancelled, it's like we always say, like with clients, like Kaiser Soze, like that. Right? It's the same here. It's like getting the functional way gets you into an area where you're more likely to precipitate magic. If you are struggling to get to the point where you have made a record that is functionally in a lane that feels like, whether it's changing the face of dance music or not, you could put it on a stick and play it out. How cool is that? That alone is a massive win. These battles that you're looking for, these searches for excellence, are for your own benefit. That's it.
True.
Right? If your intention is to add value, no one is defining that other than you. Right? Where you choose to get off the merry-go-round, no one else can decide that. But I would argue that making your mistakes, as long as nothing is mission critically bad, where you think, you know what, it's time for Speed Garage to return, but at 190, then you are learning your mistakes with a sense of kind of positivity, where it's like, this is a good record, I'm going to put it out. The next one will be better.
Yeah.
And that becomes then a self-perpetuating kind of, this has a sense of purpose.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And like I say, it's just the best thing.
No, absolutely. Right, you ready for another slice of
hit me up.
Here we go. This is a bit more breakbeat. It one's quite avant-garde, and yeah, basically just we'll just play it to you and see where we're at. Yeah, so for me, this is like a little bit busy, and it probably requires a bit more variation in the drums as well. I would say so. Sorry, mate, I'm just going to unmute you there.
Can you do me a favor? Just go back to the beginning.
And just play it from the off, yeah?
Yeah, just open it up. Right. Inarguably the best bit of the record.
Right, yeah.
Because it's cool and interesting. And do you remember, like, back in the day, and again, if anyone's under the age of like our age, they'll be like, what? There were DJ tools that used to come with records where you'd get the best bit of the record, the chunk or the loop.
Yeah, it's like a bonus beat, yeah.
Right, and you'd get 4 minutes of that because there was no looping on a 1210. So you'd get 2 copies of that record, and then you could make and remix live that record, utilizing that in conjunction with the main portion of the record, whether it was dropping it into the break and extending it, or even just playing that bit to then either extend out the back or just to use that as a singular tool. This feels like, especially when the other elements come in, that it feels like it's looking for a singular moment. You notice that with many of these records, the hard yards are done competently and well, but the search for that magic sauce is not exclusively complex for people at this level. Not even that's what I mean. That's what I said about Hanan's released 20 records this year. How many of them had a top line that was so memorable you could hum it now if I offered you £1,000?
Yeah.
Like, that's the world's top producer producing with other of the world's top producers, and he hasn't written a top line that you can remember as one of the world's top producers. Right? And none of his records are poor or diminished as a result of that. But it's the most difficult thing.
The hook.
To be able to sit here and go, and 15 years after it came out, know exactly what we're talking about. But even he hasn't been able to do that again. Right? It's really not. So that kind of ability to create something that's memorable without it becoming instantly too much is the very definition of a unicorn.
Yeah.
But sitting below that is a vast array of really great records that do a lot really, really well. This record, for me, would be better served by, as you said, finding some variation in those drums, keeping that chunk, and losing a lot of the running stuff that feels like it's in service of an idea that he's looking for a moment.
Yeah.
None of those things service that.
Yeah.
They do not make the simplistic nature of the interesting beats better.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy things as they get busier. In fact, I would say it takes me away from that. I'd rather this record be 5 minutes long and him find a really great ethereal Middle Eastern vocal.
Yeah.
Right, and then you could trance that out, then strip out completely the balls of, if you wanted my 5 minute Pimp My Ride, you'd strip out the mid and the bass from the drums, allow that to come out of this vocal that feels like it's got that kind of a slightly Moroccan vibe to it, and then return to the beats. Now that would be a record you'd be like, that is that.
Super
right, so
simple.
Super. Not every record must do everything, and not every record, strangely, feels like there's an improvement in energy when you add more energetic things to it. This has 3 energetic elements, none of which make that simplistic nature of the opening 4 bars feel like it's a step forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as much as it feels like a dreadful cliche, less is most definitely more.
Absolutely. And that's the problem, isn't it? It's like, I think it was Steve Jobs who said, like, simplicity is the hardest thing you'll ever do. It's the hardest thing to commit to. Well,
because if you are demanding that the one moment that legitimizes just bringing back a drum loop that you've already heard, even if it's augmented or filtered in some way, you are, once again, that moment better have everything in it. So now you have to spend some time finding one great vocal or one great chord structure or one great noise that satisfies and holds on to that. Again, I speak from the position of having done it far less competently than a lot of the music we've heard here. In the absence of a moment of clarity of vision or excellence, I'll take more.
Yeah.
I listened back to enough, all of the records and question whether I was ever not high. Because I'm like, this is madness. What did you do? Take every fucking idea you ever had about anything, most of it clearly not
and
about
just
music,
threw it at the wall.
just fucking stuck it in the record. One of my favorites is which there's the one time where it's great is the 3-beat thing, where clearly I've just said to Pete, let's write the biggest possible riff on the Nord that's possible. I want it to break speakers. But I'm not sure that the longevity of it is improved by as a result of that workflow. But at least it was like, I just want it to do that.
Yeah.
If we can hurt people without killing them, I'll consider that a win. I'm pretty sure I said that phrase. Right. So you're looking for the record to do something singular.
Yeah.
How great would it be to have this have an interesting vocal and return to a groove that hasn't sounded like anything else we've heard?
Yeah, yeah. So the interesting thing is, like, this is an instrumental version, because Don, who created the track, he's actually been using like an erasure vocal over the top of it, and it's interesting to kind of think about that, considering, like, you could do vocal throws, you could simplify a lot of that synth work down to just some key phrases, and then have it circulate. Yeah, YouTube Police. YouTube Police, unfortunately.
What's the track? Because I Erasure like one of my
favorites. It was L'Amour.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And was it greatly affected, or could I clearly hear it was?
Oh, you would. But in the version that we heard in one of the private sessions a few weeks ago, it was clear what it was. But again, like, there is space of doing something with it in a transformative fashion, I think.
Again,
like you said, there were similar things to your Moroccan idea. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we always try to think of it like when we're doing the day job or the night job is, what's your banker?
Yeah.
Your banker is, can you turn this into something that you'd be happy to share or play, or feel like I've legitimized the use or my manner of use for the elements I really love, like that. It clearly, unless it's like Future or again something like that where the groove is almost perfect, nothing will legitimize hanging a groove out for 128 bars with no variation.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No one can do that. Like madness. But if it's broken up by a moment that makes, that really is the ultimate palate cleanser, then I'm more than happy to be returned to what I previously enjoyed. That's the essence of a lot of great house music.
Yeah.
Or breakbeat. So here, like working on that variation, which feels like it could be a skill set, that's I want to hear, how are you loading that up and chopping it up?
Yeah.
How can you retain that sense of repetitious forward momentum, but also, even just small, simple fills or taking beats out to allow, simple things.
Yeah.
You listen to some of the stuff like Fortet and Bicep and everything else, just, and in the extended version of Pager, for example, just the delay on before it comes back, and okay, that's a world-class sound. Granted, that's official, that's trademark, none of you can use that. Is that it's, what you're going to get. I played it to you before. You know that the breakdown's going to result in another I can make it last twice as long as it probably should for anybody else, because I guarantee delivery. So these are the mechanics you're working with. Everybody knows what works, but then you also have to play with what you've got here. So have it do what works. The groove's good at the beginning, chop it up a little bit, have a moment of interest in the beginning. If YouTube Police or what's the name, because there's loads of ways you could actually use the Andy Bell. No, like erasures, and again, you can't legally hold me to this. Andy Bell's publishing and not coming for you if you make it so that it doesn't sound like Andy Bell. Right? But you want the sensibility. That's how you started. That was your creative spark. So play in that lane. Or if you want to get fancy with the spices, find someone. We did this once when we did a breakbeat remix of Montserrat Caballé and Freddie Mercury.
Barcelona,
because we had a 1,200 person event, and I wanted that to be, we had a really great friend of mine, had a really great singer, and unfortunately we couldn't afford 600 grand for a hologram. So I got the real Queen. I got the dude from the real Queen to re-sing it, and we redid it because it gave me that flexibility to move it up, down, and have him do BVs and everything else. And I enjoyed playing that lane. And the dude was 500 quid. And he was like, I would have done an entire set for that. I'm like, we just want Barcelona. But again, it's, are you having fun? That to me would be like, if I was inspired by one of my favorite bands, maybe you'll do that search. Maybe, I mean, it always feels a bit minging to say, can you get a robot to do it? It's not something I would ever advocate, but it's, how can you take something, no one thinks that Terminator X or Run is shit because they took somebody else's record and scratched it until it became imperceptible than somebody else's. Amen, break aside. That, there's still possibilities for you to use somebody else's great artistry and put your meaningful stamp on it without it feeling like you just. And this is from someone who took Hans Zimmer's work and stuck it in the middle of a record called Gladiator. So I know without changing a single thing. Without changing a single thing. House beats come in, Hans Zimmer's hard work, audio genius in the middle, beats come out. Thank you very much, Deep Dish.
I can reliably inform you that record is still upstairs in my record collection.
Like my wife always says, yeah, he talks a good game, but he probably is full of shit.
Hard to disagree with it, if I'm being honest. Like, there you go. Right, final one of the evening. Here we go. From Australia, this is Benjamin. Here we go.
Inyano hati, wagotar. Wagotoria, Inyano Hoti, Wagotoria, Inyano, Kanjulie, Dewaku, Ona when you don't know, Jokite Quina, 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 Inyano Hoti. Inyano hoti, wagotoria, inyano hoti, wagotoria, inyano kanjurie, dewaku, ona weni ona njokite kuina, 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 kuina.
Bring us to a close for the evening. So Cass, just so you know, like Ben's actually he's based in Australia, and like he's really into like have you heard about these sort of like raves they have out in the outback, like bush duffs they call them?
My mum lives in Sydney, and I've spent a very large majority of my time in Australia, so I have played a few in Whoop Whoop.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah. Whoop Whoop and Rainbow Serpent and that kind of sort of situation. Do you know what I mean?
Well, as the ex-manager of or label manager for Flying Rhino, that also came with some outback shenanigans.
Yeah, I can imagine. So for me, like I think this is solid in a lot of ways. I think like if we're applying the less is more principles that we're talking about tonight, maybe a little less of the sax, I think, especially, around and on the drop. Maybe just to kind of like keep it like really, really simple. But
I agree. First of all, that there is an objective, I think, error in layout, and that is at bar 0.
Right.
Just play that. I'm pretty sure like the bass is so strong first off the bat.
Yeah, like, straight in.
Just play it right from the very beginning.
That I literally just did. Right. Yeah, it's just in from the off.
The first port call is just 4 bars of just muting that. It's simplistic, like 4 or 8 bars, probably 8. The sax is an issue because, again, it totally depends. What is his intention? Who does he like? If he likes Yobs, or however you pronounce Yobs' name, it's quite likely that a large number of these elements may well suit.
Yeah.
If you like anyone that we've referenced, They are not playing this record as a result of their top line.
Yeah.
You just, it's not happening.
Here's what I found.
So that's not that brass and wind don't have a place in this kind of music, but you're not designing something off the artistry of your love, I would suggest, of that niche. You are asking it to do a job that, as we've discovered, again, this record, the kick sounds great. Whether he's mixed it down or not, everything's reasonably in the same order. There are a few sounds later on that, especially, you know, in conjunction with others, feel like they've been hidden because they vaguely serve a purpose, but they're not good enough that you would warrant giving them their own space in the mix.
Yeah.
That's always a big thing for me, because all it's adding to mush. It's adding to noise without value. Whereas the magic, once again, is in the part of the record that features the least of the record. And I don't mean that meanly. The bit that sounds like it's on the cusp of being something that Black Coffee would play is when the sax gets lost.
Second half of the break, and the vocal and the strings come in,
But the record is, and again, it feels brutal, but there's no way this record legitimizes a break of that length.
Yeah, it's long. It's long. Like,
not with sax covering the weight of the first half of it, when you've already had a lot of it.
It's a 2-minute break.
Right. Okay, so that, you know, I mean, what have you done for me lately?
64 bars the break. 64 bars.
But play the bit where, like, lose the first half of that break completely, dive straight into, you know, what you want is, and we always talk about, you know, connection points where like a friend of the family is an Oscar-winning set dresser, and like, as a film nerd, my greatest thing is to collar her at every family do and make her life a misery by asking her just fucking endless questions about what it's like to fucking work with Harrison Ford or whatever the fuck's going on. And the way she described it was, I love it, was that she talks about the construction of spaces that are for artists to create magic within, because what you've built is where they live. So if, for example, Ed Norton is a cop on the edge as a result of having lost his wife and is an alcoholic, there are 3 bottles of Jack Daniels with almost no Jack Daniels left in areas of the set that no one will ever see, on the understanding, without getting cosmic about it, that bleeds out into what is and allows the person to create in that space. Yeah. Right. So there's a depth of intention. The sax is not arriving with a depth of intention. It's, I need a top line here. I need something that's really going to stand out on top of the chunk that's not bad. But again, if Hanan can't do it, working with others who do it for a living, woe betide opening up woodwind, brass and other bits and pieces without being Yo-Yo Ma, because creating in that space is so difficult to achieve a sensibility of something notable that warrants a return audio listen. Yeah. Like, it's so difficult. And once again, I speak to the values of having written loads of records where I knew I needed something more. We never got to where I wanted, so we took what we had. And so it's not a question of every record is an absolute stone cold winner. But for many of the people who've been here tonight, they're doing what for many would already be difficult, which is manifesting records that in their main have the core elements well produced in the right area. But the search for those kind of top lines to go over the top, and I'll take anything that's in a high range and write like a melodic line, it's never the way. The way then is to take those lines or those things as starting places and allow the bots to give you that something's no one ever heard for just by purely playing. Random, chance, da-da-da-da. right? Just and keep playing in that area until something does what the sax is, but is imperceptible as to what it is. That's the starting place. Then that, oh, I wonder what that is, or I wonder how he did that. Right? That's magic. And if you cut here, just play from here, like straight into this. Right? So the answer to where this record, again, if it was me, if I was doing a remix, first thing I'd do is augment and secure that part. So everything comes out of that vocal snippet. Where I'm going like chorally, how can I augment that so that should I choose to, I can uplift that later on by having another part of it.
And it's like,
but then also disassemble that vocal and put it back, utilizing those elements together with what the random. Now suddenly you've got a surfeit of choice for interesting top line elements, none of which, until you hear that break, are fucking hell, it's that. And that in itself is a moment of real magic. And again, you're stepping it. This is like, it's Brian Eno's cards, his oblique strategies, which is one of my favorite gifts for musos, right? And it's the cards of where you if you're stuck and you're looking for a trumpet or a sax in a top line, you pull out a card and it says, if this is the question, how can it be the answer? And the idea is to push you out of the formulaic nature of, I'm learning to create by 8 bar, 8 bar, 8 bar, 8 bar, 8 bar. And I'm learning the structure of house music records that follow a formula and do a thing. And I like hearing them out. Bass comes out, bass comes in. Those things are, it's not that they're easy, but there is a nature to them. They satisfy because they deliver on their promise of simplicity. You want to write music, you better be a musician. There's a reason why, if you want to write, go blah and have it be, Edith Piaf slowed down by 100% or 500%, and then build one of the greatest like soundtracks off the back of it, but then also, be able to sit down at the piano and jauntily make it sound like a pirate is drunk. You better fucking have Zimmer game, because anything under that, we've been exposed extensively to greatness in that melodic nature. But you don't have to be like that with house music. There's still validity, as we've heard in a large amount of what I've heard tonight. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be searching for those things. But if you search for those elements, those things that go over the top, the things that make things memorable in a way that doesn't feel formulaic, in the way that got you to the record being 80% there, that's a great way to give you that sense of differential. That's a simple toolkit. Do that and that this course is about to a certain extent, and then enjoy playful curiosity and randomness, and capture it when the magic appears out of nowhere and you go, fucking hell, that vocal, that's something I would like to hear more of, or different versions of. And then bleed that out through a record, the rest of which, it needs some additional percussion. The bass line shouldn't start at the beginning. It feels very, very full, but not dreadfully so. The fixes are small, but they are the difference between that being the kind of record the people you like would love to play and not.
Amazing. Great advice.
That's, like I say, having not really known kind of what the standard would be and everything else, everybody's in great shape. Right? Everybody's in great shape. Everybody plays a meaningful role. Now it's as individual as the music that they will produce to decide what is their appetite for destruction. Right? How much will you play? How much time will you give yourself to meaningful, creative kind of anarchy, in the hope that you'll replace something that feels formulaic, that at your heart you probably know doesn't satisfy in the way that the majority of the record does, and there's no legislation for that. That's the bit that you cannot learn for.
That's it, yeah. And for me, like, it goes back to that essential point that we were talking about earlier, doesn't it, around it's about, with the perfection of technology, and I've often said that the best thing with modern music technology is that you can do anything you want. The worst thing about modern music technology is that you can do anything you want. And you have to force yourself off the grid. Even like rhythmically, like the grid exists and we all are in some way or another slaves to it. And the fact that, you know, a lot of what we've talked about tonight is actually like it's trying to get out of the convention, to try and get into a space like we were talking about before where the magic happens. So you can make a lane statement, as you called it, you know.
But it's also, you know, it's the complexity of, you know, technology providing so much that's positive, with almost equal magnitude of negativity associated with it.
Yeah.
The internet empowers those who have traditionally not had a voice stand up and be heard for the benefit of entire nations. It's also legitimized the worst of humanity to feel like they can make others feel lesser because no one can stop them. Cannot have one without the other. And whilst it feels like a grandiose way to finish, it's the same with music. It's great that for the first time, only the rich and the extensive who extensively well connected have studio time or have the money or the wherewithal to purchase expensive studio equipment. Now, for 500 quid, you probably could get a secondhand Dell, you know, and a copy of a, you know, music software, you know, like and create something. I mean, not everyone is Phineas, but if that bad boy's great, you've got Billy on lead vocals. I mean, that's less is more, but you know, they're creating like openly happy to continue having made one of a great album, write an even better album, which was an absolute travesty that didn't get a Grammy. That's another conversation. You know, again in the bedroom, even if some of the, you know, the final mastering is done elsewhere. Same here. It's great that there's no excuse anymore for anyone not to feel like they can have creative purpose or a voice manifested through the amount, you know, the kind of the sort of status quo being upset with the amateurization of the nature of technology. That's amazing. But it also has empowered everyone to deliver something that's very average and feel like they're making a meaningful input.
Yeah.
And I would argue that the difference between those two, and speaking like with people like Hanan and Nick and everything else, they're like, we receive so much music, much of which we play, and it is entirely replaceable by music by the same artist or the same label or the same whatever. It's great, but it's drive through McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's I'm hungry seconds later. You know, and yet all of those labels and all of those artists are releasing music that are being played by those heroes. So it's like there are many, many layers of success and many, many layers of reasoning what to do this. The technology just merely empowers you to get to a certain level where you're like, great, this doesn't feel like it's such a stretch. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Then the question is, now what?
It's absolutely true.
Now what will you do?
Absolutely true. I was actually sorry. I wasn't being rude. I was actually looking for a screenshot of an old tweet I've got from Paul Woolford because I wanted to read it to sort of like finish up on that point, and I can't find it. But the upshot of this tweet was what he was saying is that, you know, we all talk about the increasingly redundant life cycles of the music. You know, you release something.
Sure.
It's here and it's gone in 2 weeks.
Sure.
Now, what Paul Woolford said, which was an amazing thing, he said, but that's on me, and that's on you, and that's on all of us. Because if we truly commit to trying to make music that stands the test of time, guess what happened? You get a seat at the table. You know, in order to be able to actually get a say in how this culture shifts. You know, and it's a very, very difficult thing to do. And like we've said tonight, I think we can probably count on the fingers of one hand the amount of times that we catch lightning in a bottle creatively across our entire lives.
But the key thing is, I haven't heard a single thing tonight that would lead me to believe that anyone who was, brave enough to share their music out into this shared forum is not capable of being a part meaningfully of that conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the exciting thing. It really, really is. And that's what, again, like I mentioned to you before, it's such a privilege for me to do this is what I do for a living, is to
amazing.
help guide people and, try and help them to be the most, the most them version of them they can possibly be, and not feel the pressure to conform to like the cookie cutters, that, if you allow it, the industry will quite happily tell you who you should be, and we've got to resist that to a larger extent. Yeah, we've got to, like you say, lane statements. You've got to know what lane you're in order to be able to make a statement within that lane that actually shows that you could drive across 8 lanes of the 405 freeway going westbound at any one moment in rush hour,
It's great. It's okay to write a great record that no one remembers. That's a great start.
Yeah. And it comes down to the Rick Rubin thing, doesn't it? It's like, because it was also Neil Strauss who wrote that book with Rick. And I don't know whether you know who Neil is. Neil was quite a controversial figure because he actually wrote a book about pickup artists called The Game back in the day.
Is this The Art of Creativity?
Yeah, have you read it?
Yeah, I've got it here. It's somewhere here in the office.
I'd highly recommend the audio book because it's Rick doing it himself, like he's reading the book himself, and it's fantastic. Like, it's so meditative the way he does it, and what they both talk about. Like, Neil Strauss put an amazing post out where he said, don't make art to make it, make art to make it.
Well, that's what we talk about. That's why you must have a commitment to your intention. If you want someone to play it, then it's got to be in the lane that they would play. If you want to have it signed, it's got to feel like you've got it to a level where that's realistic. And you spoke about somebody already who did 3 versions of Guy's track and then they got signed. Like, that's the commitment. So that's your drive. That without going full Simon Sinek, that's your why. Right? That's what drives you, because it's your own inception of your own sort of creative touch point.
Yeah.
Right. But you are Leonardo DiCaprio, and you are also Cillian Murphy.
What a way to end, mate. This has been an absolute pleasure. Just to hear you sort of give your perspective and stuff has just been tremendous. And
I've had a blast. I hope in some regard it was useful for
dude, this is one of those sessions that, like, we've had incredible sessions with incredible people. Like, we've had people like Patrice Baumer, like I mentioned, we've had Guy, we've had people like Christoph, and like just incredible talents come on and do stuff like this. And like this is one for the ages. It really, really is. Like, it just, the amount of like takeaway that people are going to get from this, and I can see it being like one of those sessions that people will just go back and watch over and over again, and it'll almost be like a live streamed version of like an Oblique Strategies, where it's like, oh, you're creatively blocked, go and listen to Cast Talk on that track feedback for a while. Like, that'll get you out of it.
I mean, it's really enjoyable to talk about something that I greatly missed when I wasn't doing anything of it. And I really feel very fortunate to be involved, even in a limited sense now. But for anyone who has been on this, on the stream somewhere, who was kind enough and brave enough to share their music and allow me to pass judgment, if you feel upset because I ridiculed your use of a sax or a trumpet, I would remind you that I once released a record that just chopped up the Italian job. So just what the fuck do I know? So just take that sensibility and remember that taste is truly subjective, and I have purely tried to be positive good
Yeah,
read.
and we've all butchered something at some stage. That's the truth.
I like to think that was always a possibility every time I plug my headphones in.
Well, you did say I'd like to hurt people without killing them. Yeah, maim, I think is the word. I'd like to just maim people sonically. But no, this has been fantastic, mate. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time, because I know you're an extremely busy man with like family life and work life and stuff as well.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but dude, like, I mean, hey, it's all about just, you know, finding excuses to sit and, because we have sat and done something similar, like, you know, in both in Croatia, standing up in the middle of a set, but also, you know, afterwards, you know, once we started reconnecting properly. So yeah, I mean, the one thing to say is that there's also going to be.
We didn't break Patrice's record.
No, mate, we're about 3 hours off still, so you know, might have better luck next time, mate.
I'm not sure I can hit the new tonic now.
No, definitely not, mate. Definitely not, mate.
That's young man chat.
I'm hitting the chamomile tea and heading to bed after this. I'll tell you that much. So yeah. But you know, the one thing to finally say is that there's going to be some music coming from both of us soon.
That's fireworks.
Oh yes. Well,
no, it's not.
Well, it did it once on the stream, and I was like, God, that guy's prepared.
We've got balloons. Do we get balloons?
You got balloons. Well, there you go.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, stupid man-child.
Well, you know, someone's got to do it. It's a dirty job. Right, we're going to finish the stream here. Thanks very much, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you soon. Thanks very much to Cass once again. Good night.